Hello, fiends, and welcome to the Monster Party Podcast, now a part of the Fangoria Podcast Network. For more information about the network, including other programs, how to follow the show, and find past episodes of Monster Party, please visit Fangoria.com. And now, it's party time. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to a special celebrity edition of Monster Party.
Monster Party. Monster Party. It's a celebrity Monster Party.
Talk about celebrity.
I'm so thrilled.
Oh, my God.
Who are you,
We
sir?
are blessed to have me, Matt Weinhold.
And I am SHAWN Sheridan.
And me, Larry STROTHE.
And me, James GONIS.
But we are also blessed and favored to have a special guest who is also our topic.
That's right.
You might know her from Star Trek The Next Generation. Maybe you've heard of it.
Little series, you know.
Dexter.
Yep.
Pet Sematary. Ray Donovan. A personal favorite of mine, Trekkies.
Yes,
Ladies and gentlemen, Denise Crosby.
Denise Crosby!
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it is such a pleasure.
Yeah, how about this, huh?
Oh, baby.
Have you ever been on a sexier podcast so far?
I am sitting around with four hot men.
Yeah, in matching T-shirts, doing silly voices.
Matching T-shirts.
And we're
That's
all
right.
and we're all drinking.
We're all drinking the girliest drinks known to.
Wait a minute.
For the occasion, I am drinking Romulan ale.
Wow.
For our
That is-
guests.
Wow,
Yeah.
how is
That
that?
is so hardcore.
It is. It's
really hardcore.
You know this is illegal. But
Yes,
I have a
yeah.
ship that brings it for medicinal purposes.
You know Star Trek's fiction, right? I just want to let's clear that up in the beginning.
Thank you,
All right,
Matt.
just
Thank
want to make
you.
sure because maybe our listeners would think that it really was illegal and then not buy it. We don't want that.
Our topic-
because this
Yes,
this
yes.
economy
Yes,
needs all
yes.
the commerce it can get.
Well, our topic is Denise
That's
Crosby.
correct.
True.
So let's get
Wow.
down to
Let's
Denise
get
Crosby.
down. Denise Crosby. Where do we start?
I'm a topic.
Yeah.
I'm a topic.
How about that?
So let's
start at the beginning.
Let's do a forensic.
Please,
Let's
God
do
no.
it.
Let us
Let's
probe.
do a
Let us.
in honor of X-Files, who's just
Coming back, yeah.
come back,
which you were on
which,
a couple
by the way,
episodes.
Yeah.
that's right. I did do the X-Files. We can start there. I also did the Red Shoe Diaries, which was.
I know. I know.
Yes.
Are we going to talk about the S word?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, we
Okay,
are.
yeah, I know you would. Four boys.
Look, I mentioned just a few of your credits, but what I failed to mention was you have starred in the rest of television since the beginning of your
I
career.
go back to the Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh my God! You're one of my favorite. One of my favorite your show of shows was no.
I'm 110, but God damn it, I can still get it up.
You heard it here, Monster Party fans.
Denise has done a lot.
I mean, look,
Denise
listen to
has
some
done
of
a
these.
lot of genre stuff.
Listen
too,
to this.
Not just Next
Jackie
Generation.
Brown, 48 Hours, Scandal, Ray Donovan, The Walking Dead.
Yes.
Wow. The
Law
Flash.
and Order. Southland.
The Walking Dead and Law and Order. How
about that?
That's a bridge.
I mean,
to cross.
like
Lois and
every
Clark.
single show. Were you on Cops ever, or
Cops, well, they didn't have the cameras rolling.
that's a shame.
Bad boys, bad boys.
Yeah,
But look, even in addition to the television, she's done a lot of movies. This is one busy actress. She's done
you're
a lot
working
of
all
stuff.
the time.
You are, and you're taking time out of your busy schedule
that?
to come here to Monster Party.
Well, you guys, you made it, impossible to say no. What can I say?
we booze,
food, drinks.
We stood outside your house.
And my action, I have a table of action figures sitting
that?
before
Yes.
me, a shrine.
Yeah.
We call those
myself.
our deal closers.
But before
Is that what you're calling them?
Yeah.
But before we talk about these wonderful action figures, though, I mean, if we can start back. I mean, how did you get into the whole acting thing? How did that all start for you?
Oh my goodness gracious! I think I sort of rebelled. It was a natural kind of passion of mine, but I had to sort of find it on my own. And in the beginning, I didn't want to go there. It was sort of assumed because of my Crosby.
Yeah, you have a family history, kind of.
So, for instance, I rebelled. My grandfather's known for his great classic White Christmas.
And who is your grandfather?
Oh, my grandfather was Bing Crosby.
Bing Crosby. Perhaps you've heard
Bing
of
Crosby
him?
horror fans.
I don't. Der Bingle. That's right, Der Bingle. And he could be a horror, but anyway.
Keep talking.
Okay.
Have some more wine.
Let me take a drink. Hang on. I'm going to take a drink now. In the true Crosby fashion.
I think I'm going to join you here.
I like it.
Is that orange juice,
yeah.
Denise?
Minute Maid. Yeah, Minute Maid. Come here, little granddaughter.
Wow.
Sit on my lap. Let me sing you a song.
So you had this acting thing in the family, okay? But you rebelled.
I rebelled because it was sort of like, wow, am I really going to do that? That's going to create all kinds of stuff, and people are going to judge me, and they're going to criticize me, and I'm going to be held to a certain comparison or standard, and what am I really doing this for? And so I rebelled. I did my sort of hippie groovy traveling to Guatemala, seeking God.
Tell us in
vision.
detail.
No.
More of that.
No, she can place over that. So you did traveling, okay?
And I did traveling, and then I fell into modeling, and did a pictorial in Playboy.
You did do
I'm not familiar.
You probably have them pasted up in your room somewhere.
Yes,
so
I
Denise,
do.
you
Wow.
did, what,
It's laminated.
Yeah.
This is like
by now.
so this is
You little slick Willy. It's glossy. It's glossy, folks.
Yeah. I keep it very clean.
Yeah.
this is back in '79.
It's a clean family.
This is back in '79. You did
79. God damn it! It was not 79. It was 1981. Okay.
Okay, 81.
Give me a few months for God's sake.
Whoa, excuse us.
Okay.
So you posed in '81.
I need all I can get.
But the pictures that you posed in, I mean, they were not typical.
Right.
Playboy model type
it was,
look.
God love Hefner, who took a chance on me. I mean, he was going rogue.
Yeah.
It wasn't a centerfold; it was a pictorial.
Right.
It was, I had 1 inch long hair and skinny little flat chested boy body, and it was
Okay, I've looked at these pictures. No.
Well, I mean, you like that sort of
But it was the very
thing,
kind of 60s,
but
kind
it
of
was-
pixie-ish kind of look.
It was very Mia Farrow.
Yes, yes.
But her
Twiggy.
makeup though was a little.
It was 80s. It was totally 80s.
But that wasn't really what they were like. They didn't call you in going, "We're looking for a Mia Farrow."
No. Oh no, they did not want to publish those photos. They thought it was not what the magazine is about, and they were right. There was nothing that looked like me in the magazine, but because of Philip Dixon, their star photographer at the time, he had been to Europe and was shooting a lot of, cool like Vogue, Harper's Bazaar pictorials, and he wanted to take a chance on me, and because he was so respected with the magazine, they agreed to give it a shot. And so the test photos end up in the magazine.
It was the test
It was the
photos
test
that ended up in the
photos.
magazine.
Wow.
Yeah,
And they really
were
are
just-
beautiful. Yeah.
They really are.
And you had a look at the time that was kind of progressive and cutting edge, leading right into the 80s.
Well, thank you. I wasn't acting at the time. For me, I sort of wanted to be Laurie Anderson mixed with David Bowie.
Oh, wow.
I was studying music. I was
I like Laurie
playing.
Anderson.
Me too. I was.
Me too.
I was studying classical flute. I was living with my parents. I was studying flute. My stepfather thought he had lost his mind and, gone wrong with. What did he do wrong with me? I just was into weird art and music, and I didn't know what I wanted to be. But you know what? Because of Playboy, I started acting.
Oh.
How about that?
Because Playboy came out, and one of the biggest casting directors in town was Lynn Stallmaster
Oh, yeah.
and Tony
okay.
Howard.
Mhm.
It was,
Yep.
okay. They found out through the magazine who I was, where I was, and called me at home. I was living with my parents.
Wow. Really?
And they said, Tony Howard called and said, "This is Tony Howard. I'm a casting director. I have a television movie I'm trying to cast, and I'm really interested in you. Would you like to read for it?" And I said, why not?
Yeah. Right.
I went to her office, and I remember I was in like army fatigues. I wore like khaki pants and thongs and no makeup and my short hair. And she gave me the Diary of a Teenage Hitchhiker. It was a TV movie of the week.
No.
Guys are the best audience.
It
was the diary. I'm glad I remember this. I mean, it was the Diary of the Teenage Hitchhiker.
Mm-hmm.
She said, "Here's a script. Why don't you go take it, look at it, and when you're ready, come back and read for me." Now, these guys were the bomb at the point.
Yeah,
right.
Tony Howard and Lynn Stallmaster. And I came home. I read the script. I said, I can, I'm ready. Called her up on Monday, went back in, read. Mm-hmm. And she told me at the time they cast Charlene Tilton as the lead.
Okay.
So they couldn't cast any of her girlfriends because I was going to be one of the leads,
Right.
Okay.
girlfriends.
Right, right.
It was kind of like an early, Mean Girls, kind
Sure.
of thing.
Okay, right.
And they wouldn't cast anyone over 5'7".
Because she was really
she was
petite.
quite short.
She was very tiny.
Right.
Ironically, Charlene Tilton and I went to elementary and high school and junior high school together.
No way.
Wow.
Did you like her?
She was that like Hollywood type of girl,
Okay.
and
Sure,
I
sure.
wasn't. I was,
Sure.
I was
right.
Laurie Anderson.
I understand.
She was like
didn't
head
quite-
cheerleader.
But she had,
She's the
was
female
working.
Alan Ladd.
But Denise, you wet your whistle kind of. You kind of got the taste, the flavor
That was
of
my
it.
toes.
Okay.
Those were my toes in the water.
Okay.
And Tony said, "Listen, you're really talented. You have raw talent. I'm going to give you a list of 3 acting teachers that you've got to study. If you want to do this, you've got to study." One was Joan Darling. One was Milton Katselas. And the other one was John Lennon.
Nice.
That's amazing.
After all that drugs and sex and rock and roll, I still have a few brain cells left.
Hold on to those stories.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
So you went.
I went
chose-
to each one of those classes.
Okay.
To look and see. And eventually I ended up studying with Milton Katselas for 10 years at least. And
Wow.
that group of actors that came through that class are now famous movie stars.
But
Give us some names.
George Clooney, Michelle
Oh, wow.
Pfeiffer. My God. Let's see who else. Bill Forsyth.
That's good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of really amazing. Jason Begay was in that class. Bryan Cranston. I mean, everybody passed through that
Yeah.
class.
Wow.
But the fact that like you said, like, you kind of didn't start out wanting to do that, even though you came from this famous Hollywood family, but you kind of went about it in a different way, and you ended up getting into it.
Finding my own
Right, yeah, your own
place in
avenue,
it.
yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, your own entrance.
Do you,
Yeah.
do you
And
do you feel like having posed nude in Playboy sort of broke down a kind of a wall where it's like, oh, well, I did that, now I can pretty much do anything?
I think probably on some other, some deep level. I mean, that was I think the intention. I've always been a bit of a provocateur in kind of standards or what I perceive as just bullshit.
Like,
yes, yeah.
And
When I shake things up a bit.
I've always been rebelling against my family. They rebelled against me, so I in turn rebelled for them. They didn't recognize me or my mother. I was the bastard child of that family, and it was it was harsh.
Sure, yeah.
Very harsh.
Well, you showed them.
Yeah.
I'll say.
really.
I think that, as a child, you pick that up,
Yeah.
and that's a very deep-rooted subconscious
Can I just say,
thing.
how many Bing Crosby conventions?
right, exactly.
I'd like to start one. That would be kind of cool. Actually.
Con.
So Denise, I wanted to get to so you started to do your acting. And I know you did a bunch of things before the big Star Trek.
Well, yeah,
so
but also you did several Blake Edwards movies too, right? Tell me
Okay,
about-
so
about that.
Blake, interesting story there. So I began dating Blake's son, which I ended up marrying. He was my first husband. Jeffrey Edwards was an assistant editor on a lot of Blake's movies. So Blake had made the film 10, which was Blake's big gift back in the industry. Blake had been pretty much blacklisted.
Right, that was the movie to put him back on the map. Again,
That
right?
put
10.
him back on the map. I mean, that was a huge success. And I was dating Jeff, and Blake needed to make the television version of 10.
Oh.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, a re-edit or a new
alternate
movie?
shots? Or
No,
alternate...
a re-edit, take out, remember, Dudley Moore's character was living across the canyon
Right.
from Don Calfa.
Yes,
You know, and
great
Don,
Don Calfa.
Yeah, oh, we love
great
him.
Don Calfa, and Don had all these, haughty, naked. They were all porn
and
stars.
Dudley
actually,
Moore
that
looking
Blake,
through the telescope.
the telescope.
Yeah,
so,
right.
so Dudley's having this whole relationship.
Yeah.
So all of that had to be edited out for the television version, the
Right.
clean version, the airplane version
Right,
of
okay,
the movie.
sure,
Okay.
sure.
So he had to reshoot some sequences. And I sort of, met him, and he said, I'm going to redo this, and you could play Rapunzel. Now, the irony is my hair is 1 inch too long, and I'm playing Rapunzel. So if you ever catch the version of 10 that's in New Zealand or they took all the girls out, and it's just me and Dawn and I'm, running around in a bikini, and my hair's this, and he's going Rapunzel, Rapunzel, and Dudley's all, hot. And that got me my SAG card and got me an agent. Dawn was kind enough to introduce me to his agent.
Wow.
And I
That's awesome.
later repaid the favor. Because Dawn...
Sure you want to tell this story?
Yeah. It's so clean.
Okay, all right,
Dawn,
all right.
Dawn wanted to join the Academy. And it's changing now, as we know.
Yeah.
It's very controversial
Sure.
right now, what's going on with the Academy. And Dawn wanted to join the Academy, and he needed 2 signatures from his guild. He was an actor. And he got Michael Douglas to sign for him because he had done a movie with him. And he asked if I would bring his application to Julie Andrews, which I did. And Julie signed, and Dawn.
Oh, wow.
That's
awesome.
I know. I love those little things,
That's
know.
cool.
Those times it must be in show business where you just go, God, this is so fun to be in this business. I'm with people.
Up with people. Yeah.
So you got your agent.
Got my agent.
And now you're real now. You're
Well, I mean, you're a young, naive actress going through the motions, and trying to keep it together and see, you learn a lot.
But then the film Eliminators changed everything.
My life.
I love Eliminators, though.
Eliminators.
Now that you made...
I'm so grateful you guys even know that.
Oh, yeah.
Sean,
Eliminators
my
is
God, pure fun.
1986 Charles Band production.
Yep.
And I just have a soft spot for this movie. It's kind of like the African Queen. If the African Queen had robots.
God, I have never been compared to the great Catherine Hepburn, but I'll take it.
It is.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Totally.
if the African Queen had robots, cyborgs, ninjas, and cavemen.
In the first draft, it did.
And Mandroid.
And Mandroid.
Mandroid.
That used to be my.
Tell us a little
That used
bit
to be
about
my porn name.
Eliminators, because it's a really fun movie.
Don't get me started.
I will.
With you.
Okay.
Mister.
But tell us about that. How do you kind of get started
Eliminators.
in that a little bit?
God. Those were the days. They don't exist anymore. The days when some guy could, sit around with a producer with some bucks, with a cigar in his mouth, and go,
A line of cocaine.
and a line of cocaine, and big tits, and say, I think I want a blonde and I want a scientist, and I want a robot, and I want a ninja.
And they're going to fight a bad
They're
guy.
going to fight, and they're going to save the fucking world, okay? Draw it up for me, and I want it by 5 o'clock tomorrow. So some guy would go and make a poster,
Right,
okay?
right.
Yeah.
They'd
Great
make
poster,
a
by the way.
poster.
The poster?
Okay,
Yeah,
wait.
posters are
I'm
great.
The old
telling
Roger
you, man.
Corman style.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
totally based on the Roger Corman model.
Yeah.
So then you would go to MeFed, the Milan Film Market, and you'd take this poster of the blonde and the robot and the ninja and the scientist, and you'd go, I can make this movie. I got it. I got the script. I got the guys. I can make this movie for $1, and you'll make a fucking fortune.
Right.
I'm in. We'll sell it to Canada. We'll sell it to India. We'll sell it to China.
Right.
And that was
That's-
how
right,
movies
that's
got
what Empire
made.
Pictures did.
That was Empire.
And they got, actually, it was Paul DeMeo and Danny Bilson
Yeah.
who wrote it, who
Yep.
ended up writing The Flash, too,
Yep.
which the original Flash series.
in the 90s.
Yeah.
Which I did.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You did
Oh, yeah.
But,
Oh, I
but
forgot.
Eliminator.
Wow, I did that too.
This is your
I just
life.
keep doing Jesus. God, you're going to bring out like some fucking weird guy that I slept with back in 1989.
Oh, just wait.
I know
We
he's-
started.
But
You
Eliminators
remember
is,
Chico Abelman, don't you?
Yeah,
You
we
woke up
were-
under him.
It was like, oh, those were the days with the amyl nitrate and the discos all night long. Okay.
Eliminators.
Is really fun, and the
Yeah.
cast is great because you also have Andrew Prine,
Oh, God.
who is so
Classic.
much fun.
Love that guy.
Great
Classic.
character actor. Conan Lee, who was the ninja guy.
Oh, my God.
Roy Dotrice, who was the bad
Roy
guy.
Dotrice.
Dotrice.
Dotrice. He's English. He's the Royal Shakespearean Company. Okay, Roy Dotrice.
but it's
he was
great.
like the I like go wait. Roy Dotrice is in there. Okay, that's what I did with Patrick Stewart's in this. Okay.
Oh, wow.
No, but
Hello,
we'll get
I'm
to
Roy.
that.
I have the trailer right next to the Mandroid.
But then you've got Patrick Reynolds. Oh my God! Can I talk about Patrick
Please.
Reynolds?
Go.
Okay.
Please.
Patrick Reynolds is an heir to the Reynolds tobacco fortune. Do you know that?
No, I did
know.
not.
Oh, you guys!
No, I did research, but I didn't go that. Maybe Sean
Okay.
knows that.
Okay, Patrick Reynolds was like whose grandfather started the Reynolds tobacco, or his great grandfather.
Sure.
And he is the biggest anti-smoking campaigner ever. He has been disowned completely.
Wow.
He was the Mandroid.
He was the man. Wait a minute.
Mandroid.
The Mandroid. He drives that
Look what smoking did to him.
Okay, so that back then, no CGI, no, we're
Yeah.
making this movie for $1 in Spain, by
Yes.
the way. He would
Yeah, it was
strap
the
himself
weirdest sight.
into like a 4-wheel like skateboard, basically,
Yeah.
on wheels. And he would, if you look at the movie, he would wiggle and lose his balance.
Yeah, it was
and
like the
I'd be
last-
worried that he's going to die. And, Patrick, are you okay? And he'd be sweating and there'd
It
not
was
be enough
it was like
water.
from the torso below, he
Yeah.
was a little tank.
Right.
He was drove around.
Yeah.
It was
It's
like,
so awesome.
weird.
It's
Yeah.
so
it was hilarious. It was great. Yeah, it was
it's
great.
so
It was
great.
and you were like a scientist who like
Of
kinda
course, I was the
created
beautiful, smart scientist.
And there's a ninja, and there's Andrew Prine. You guys all team up to fight Roy Dotrice, right?
Roy
Dotrice.
Dotrice.
Okay.
Wow, twice.
Sean, that's the second
Demon
time.
Blues,
Dotrice.
Dotrice.
All right, if you're
want you to-
done
I'm-
insulting the Dotrice family,
I want you to read All's Well That Ends Well this evening before we meet again.
all right, good.
Sean, what's the date on that film, by
That
the
was
way?
1986, right? So this
Was
is
it
kind of right
86?
before I think Next
It was
Gen,
right before.
right?
I was doing an amazing play in LA called Tamara.
Did that have a Mandroid in it?
Well, matter of speaking, but not in the way you know. And it was. I was so happy to do this play. It was great theater, and it ran for. I mean, it was a huge hit in L.A. And suddenly, I got this call to go and do this film, and it was so cool because the original poster of Eliminators, is a brunette. Remember, I told you how they
Yes,
they
yes,
did a mock-up
yes.
poster. They sold it at MeFed,
Yeah.
came back and said, okay, now we got to do it for real. And I walked in and the poster was already on the wall. And I said, but that's not me. I said, no, we'll change it. We'll change it, honey.
Now, was it a pretty quick shoot? Like, how was it like shooting that?
Well,
shoestring
okay.
budget, right?
So, yeah, I get, for me, it was that it had a budget at all. I was so excited, to go to Madrid.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God.
Costumes and sets and
a plane and
And a man.
I was on a
Mandroid.
plane and
Peanuts
I was in Madrid and I was living in the apartamentos Via Magna. It was fabulous. And, I thought, oh, my God, this is amazing. And, we were getting per diem in pesetas, which was huge.
Oh, wow.
I was, it was like the rate of exchange was crazy back then.
Right.
I had literally my bedstand, I pulled up the drawers filled with pesetas.
Wow.
However, the movie was directed by Peter Manoogian, who was
He did a lot
that
of
was his
Empire
first.
stuff,
That was
right.
his first film. He comes from this illustrious family. His father was Haig Manoogian, who was NYU's great head of the NYU Film School with Scorsese. He was Scorsese's mentor.
Okay. Wow.
So Peter had a lot to kind of prove
Sure.
and live up
Right,
to.
right.
He's got his dad kind of Martin Scorsese is his, little son at the film school. And Peter, okay, I'm going to make my own film. And, we were in Spain and shit happens and it kind of went over, and it was like, okay, well, we did it. Empire was totally supportive of him and
That's cool.
adored him.
That was
and
kind of
loved him.
when Empire was really on top form. 'Cause
Yeah.
they kind of, after a while,
After
it was
that-
too much. It was like, and they kind of imploded on themselves in a way.
I think so. They
But-
lasted 5 years, maybe, and so we were in the peak. And
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
yeah, and they had made, the film with Jeffrey Combs, Reanimator.
Reanimator.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
was,
We had Stuart
was
Gordon
sort of-
there.
Those were the
yeah,
bigger-
yeah,
yeah.
Now, was
Stuart Gordon. Yeah, yeah,
Was Eliminators your first sci-fi genre project? Do you remember?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now going back a couple of years earlier, 48 Hours.
40. I was
Now-
going to say 48 Hours was really my first movie. Yeah.
It wasn't like when I looked at IMDb recently, I never connected that was you because your hair was different than the haircut I always associated
Right.
with you.
Yeah.
It's like that was her with the baseball bat. Wow.
Right.
that's how I always think of you, with a baseball bat.
And my son's, a baseball player. How
right?
weird is that? Yeah.
I remember when the film came out because I worked at the movie theater at the time, and I can't tell you how many times I watched you with that baseball bat. Yeah. I got to know you pretty
good
well.
stuff.
I
Yes.
love that
Good
story.
stuff.
That story on that set.
How was that to be on that?
So, I was so, oh my God, now going back, I realize what an amazing, here I am at Paramount, Walter Hill, Joel
Yeah.
Silver
Yeah.
is just
Yeah.
starting.
Right.
Nick Nolte is, this legend
Yeah,
at this point.
at that time, yeah,
Eddie Murphy, first film.
Right.
Okay, so I don't know what I'm getting into, but it's cool and great and daunting, and I'm just trying to learn how to not bump into the furniture. And Eddie, so I've got this scene where I've got to swing this baseball bat, and Eddie's like, "No, man, I don't want her to hit me with that baseball bat." and Nick's going, Eddie, come on, man, she's not going to hit you with the baseball bat because there was a rubber, limpy wuss bat, prop bat, and then there was the wood bat.
Yeah.
And for any and he goes, "No, man, I don't want, I'm not getting hit with that bat." And I go, I don't know what to do. And Walter goes, "No, it's cool." And Nick is standing up for me. So, okay, so they've got to cover it in different angles. So it looks, so I'm really smashing it with the fake little wimpy rubber bat.
Yeah.
And then you got to switch it out. So, for a different camera angle. So Eddie's made this whole big fuss, and I'm so scared I'm going to touch Eddie Murphy with a baseball bat. So I'm like, and then one take, I just kind of nick him. And he goes, "Oh, see what I do? She hit me. mean? And Nick goes, you fucking pussy, get back. It was like, and I'm dying. And Nick's drinking like straight up Jack. And it was like, wow, okay, welcome to Hollywood.
Wow. But was like Eddie, was Eddie cool with you after it, though? I mean, after the whole thing, or not really?
Eddie was not cool back then.
Right,
no.
right.
Eddie, I don't know where Eddie is nowadays, but he was all full of himself.
Sure,
he was off of Saturday Night Live. He was 21 years old. He was the bomb.
Yeah,
he had an entourage. He had the whole full-on Hollywood shit. And Nick, who was the veteran, was like the opposite of that. So it was really an interesting combo, the two of them.
Probably what made it work for the movie, though. Their characters, in a way.
It did because they're both really good in their own worlds.
Sure.
Right.
Very separate worlds they were in.
But each very strong personality.
Very strong. And, my hat's off to Nick because he really sort of took my hand and made me feel welcomed, okay, grounded. Eddie, not at all. I mean, Eddie was all about Eddie. And Walter is the salt of the earth. Joel took me by the hand and said, I'm going to show you my Bing Crosby collection. And I was in his office somewhere on the Paramount lot, and I went, wow, that's really... And he was just starting, He was that was one of... and he became Joel Silver.
Absolutely.
I think
Joel Silver.
I think you probably did Eddie Murphy a favor then. I think maybe that's exactly what he needed at that time.
Maybe so.
Hit with a rubber baseball bat.
I know.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I know.
So you do 48 hours, you do Eliminators. How do you get into the
How
whole...
do you top that?
No.
Where do you go from this,
So how did the Star Trek thing...
But can I ask you a question before that, which is... Were you at this point ever a Star Trek fan in any way?
Oh God! I had watched all the original.
Oh, really?
Not when it first came on.
Yeah.
I was too young, and it was not my thing. I was more into Batman and the monkeys, and whatever. I Dream of Jeannie. So when I was about 18, I lived in Malibu on an organic farm, Chico's Organic Farm in my hippie days. And Chico,
I love LA.
I know. LA, I do love LA because for that reason, I was just talking about this, that you can just be, whatever you want to be here.
Right?
Yep, it's true.
Let's hold hands. So I was living in, up in Malibu, across from the band, by the way.
Wow.
Wow.
And so Chico was an 80-year-old Italian immigrant who bought 6 acres after the war in Malibu. And I, in exchange, lived in his guest house for I was going to City College and, working the organic farm. And every night at 5:00, we would watch Star Trek. Oh. That was our thing. So I was 18, stoned out of my mind, And he was on his oxygen, and stoned out of his mind, presumably, at 80. And, we would watch Star Trek together. Wow. And that was our
great
thing.
Way to watch
I know. And I think of Cheek every time I was doing the Next Gen. I would think of, on that set that whole time, I was thinking of Chico. Can you believe this?
Wow.
This is a trip.
Wow.
So you definitely were aware of the show. You enjoyed the original show,
of course.
Yeah. So
but I I learned about it in syndication when it first went on. Because it just was great, and it became a ritual. It was a ritual to watch Star Trek. Yeah.
So then, how did it come back? The phone call, or how did it end up that they sought you out?
Okay, so I was doing a movie. I was just from 48 Hours. I kept doing whatever I could, and at that point, I was doing a film called Miracle Mile, which was very cool.
Anthony Edwards,
Mayor Winningham, Steve DeJarnette wrote it. Hemdale produced it, which was one of the original, indie companies.
Yeah.
And Olan Jones was in it, who was married to Sam Shepard. It was this very cool, level of coolness to be on this film. It was very cool. So I get the call. There's an audition. They're going to make a new Star Trek, The Next Generation. And I went, are you fucking
and that's kind of what I thought too when I first heard about it.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be kidding.
Many
Come on,
people.
they can't
Yeah.
do that. Like,
Five
I really thought that too.
they're just, and there was no cable. There was no. This was an original in syndication. It was the first show that was going to be made directly to syndication. And I went, ew. This is like, we're just like the dregs of humanity.
Yeah, exactly.
But, who am I to, I can't say no.
No,
I'm a
it's a
struggling
job,
actor.
yeah.
So I get the sides, and I'm hiding. I'm in the trailer, the makeup trailer. I remember the first time I read this, my audition for The Next Gen.
So you're on the Miracle Mile set.
I'm on Miracle Mile, and we're shooting we're shooting nights, 1 week straight at Johnny's Diner.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
Is that on La Brea?
It's on Wilshire.
and Fairfax.
Yes,
That's
yes.
it.
Okay, it's still there.
Available for shooting.
Right.
Yeah, and back then it was still a diner.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
So we were shooting nights. So already your rhythm, your sensibilities are a little skewed.
Yeah.
But I thought, like, wow, man, I'm going to lose my cool cred if I show anyone on the set. I'm like waiting for Star Trek, and I would hide my audition.
Really?
And I was reading for the part of Deanna Troy.
That's right.
No,
Yes.
I did not know that.
That was my
I did not know
first.
that.
Yeah.
Those were so there was no script available because it's Star Trek, very secretive, even back then. Now
right.
everything's secretive. You sign non-disclosures for everything.
Sure.
But back then they didn't even have a non-disclosure. They would just say, "Shut up, you, don't talk, we'll sue you, I'll kill you," and don't show anyone. So I have like the sides, and it's like a Betazoid, and I don't know. She's from Betazoid. She's a
From Beta Z?
Half Betazoid.
Yeah,
right.
Betazoid, and whatever you say, tomato ice cream. and I don't know what and I said, what? Oh God, what is this? I don't know. Should I do it? And okay, I'll go. And it was Junie Lowry who was casting it.
Right.
Who's become one of the great casting directors. And I just did it, but there was a lot of that point. It was not something I thought. Well, back then in the 80s, remember, television was not where you didn't do TV if you thought and dreamed about being an actor.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was
Right.
still two
Yeah.
different.
And I was
kind of-
making an indie film with
Yeah.
really cool indie actors and indie writers, and I thought, no, I'm selling out.
And this is years and years and years before Nerd Chic.
Right.
Yeah. Oh.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
This
the
was
whole right.
no, and that first year of Star Trek: The Next Generation, we were the redheaded bastard stepchild. On the
Really?
lot.
Right, right.
Oh, it
Yeah.
was. We were. I had a trailer. Dressing room that probably had been pulled out of some, ditch in
Burbank.
Casitas, Lake Casitas, had been buried down, had probably a dead body in it. It had rotten brown carpet with a wall air conditioner and, the size of this table.
Wow.
But how did you get from you reading for Deanna Troy, and you came in and you read, and how did you get from there to
5 auditions later.
5?
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
5 auditions later, Gene Roddenberry liked Marina Sirtis and me and just had this idea to switch us.
Really?
Yeah, because the original Deanna Troy was written as a sort of Icelandic ice queen, snow queen, cool, Norwegian, whatever. And they thought
Bjork with telepathy.
right.
No, but I can understand.
would've been cool.
I mean, because Marina has a certain kind of unique voice, and I can kind of see that,
Well, I mean, it's so we can't imagine. I mean, nobody can
No.
imagine. I mean, it's so embedded. It's like,
Right.
I love when you know about other actors, you were considered for this
Right.
and you didn't get it, or
Right.
But for Tasha Yar, I mean, she's supposed to be a little bit more of a badass. She's like security. She's supposed to be tough.
But they were originally the vision was sort of off of great Ridley Scott series.
Like aliens. Like you're like Vasquez.
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 It's more like she was described as this like, dark-haired fire plug. This is tough. And that's, more along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And Jean just had this notion. It was instantaneous in the room. You just said, could you come back and read for that role? Of course. Sure. Yeah.
Now, was that a disappointment to you? Did you feel like Deanna Troi was a better role? Or
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get there was never a script.
Mm-hmm.
It was only scenes. We had no idea. And I was so
Sure.
young and naive. I didn't know what it was.
We're making TV.
It's like
Right,
whatever.
right. Yeah.
Did
you get to read with anyone in the?
No,
It was just you.
It was just me, the casting, and Rick Berman, Gene
Right.
Roddenberry, the producers,
Wow.
in the room at Paramount. And it was just this like crummy little syndicated series that they were going to sort of test out.
Beyond the fact that it was television and not theatrical movies, were you concerned about? It's still Star Trek. I mean, it's still even the Next Generation first season was still bound to be some sort of a cultural, make a cultural impact,
and in the spotlight.
And in the spotlight, were you concerned about being typecast?
I didn't see it as such. I didn't see it as a cultural landmark or, that it would have any. As a matter of fact, the hate mail we were getting was extreme. I mean, the sentiment was not positive.
From hardcore original Trek fans mostly?
Yeah. It was like, this was their golden cow. They couldn't touch this.
Sure.
And it was like, how dare you?
Which is so interesting because it's like, we could give you nothing.
No.
Like, there's that.
No, man.
Like, look, when I first watched Encounter at Farpoint, I felt like, okay, well, this is not perfect, but it is something that there's some intelligence behind it.
Yes.
They're really trying.
They're trying.
And that with some work, this could get there.
I felt that way too, Matt. I felt like, okay, because I saw it in college, and it was like a huge group of people. Mm-hmm. And when you got to the end, there's this moment when Deanna Troi has this little line, and she goes something about, it's togetherness, and we're like, oh, come on. But like you said, I thought, you know what? This is a good effort. I like the
build
effort,
on.
And it's like, you know what? I'm going to stick with it.
Their hearts were in the right place.
Yeah. That's what happened. We won them over.
Yes,
and everybody. And the other thing is that everybody was good.
Yes.
There were really good actors all across the board.
Right.
And because before that, we have Star Trek from the 60s, and then from that point on, it got into Buck Rogers from the 24th century and all this kind of stuff. Everything very tongue-in-cheek. And to have this show that looks so great, real actors.
They took science fiction seriously.
Yeah.
And I think it really paved the way for almost every now modern science fiction show, because it showed that you can do a show like that, have good writing, have good production values, and it will succeed.
Yeah. Right.
When did you kind of sense the tide turning? After the first season, or
I just approached everything with the same intention: to be the best actor I could be.
Sure.
It didn't matter, if it was horror, if it was sci-fi, if it was comedy. It was the same. My job is what I knew how to be an actor in. So I expected no less. I mean, you've got Patrick Stewart, you've got Brent Spiner, you've got LeVar.
Mm-hmm.
These. Will Wheaton was, by the way, the most famous.
That's right.
At that point.
Right. Yes,
Stand By Me. Stand By Me was just huge.
Yeah.
And
huge.
Everybody, and Gates came from a very different background. All of us were these. That's what's kind of beautiful. I mean, we're all very strangely different in our histories.
but the
and our
ensemble
past.
kind of worked. It just kind of
It
came
did
together.
because we mutually gave space and respected each other. My beef with the show was always the writing. The first year writing was all over the map and wasn't there. And again,
I agree. It took a while to kind of get into its
it did.
rhythm.
And, we know that once Michael Piller came on, I think that helped a lot. And again, coming from where I was coming from this film, theater, indie world, I thought, what am I couldn't stand around going, aye, Captain, you know, and
Right.
hours and hours and hours I would stand there. I begged them, just make legs. Just make my legs. Because I was on the bridge and it was above the captain. I said, I don't say anything and I don't do anything. And I was serious. They used to go, oh, Denise, you know. I go, no, just make my legs. And then I'll come in, you know, and do, if
Right.
this is what
How much would
this
Tasha
is
Yar's
gonna be.
legs be worth if they had made them?
Oh my gosh. After a while, there wasn't enough there for you to grab on. Because, look, I mean, obviously, it must have been hard, though, to make that decision, to say, like, I don't want to do this anymore, right?
Yeah, it was a natural. It was really a natural. It wasn't a brash judgment. It wasn't a overnight decision. There were a lot of things to consider. My lifestyle, I didn't have children. I didn't have a mortgage. I didn't, there weren't.
Right.
It wasn't a thing where with some people you stay because there's a lot of things at stake.
Right.
But I was getting so creatively frustrated, and that was not fair to them. I couldn't bring that energy onto that set
Right.
for
right.
those guys who were, they were doing their thing. I was like going, I'm going to die if I'm standing on this, up on this console,
Right.
and just watching Patrick's bald head, and going, aye, Captain, and I talked to the right, and they wouldn't,
Oh, so you did. You actively suggested that, hey, guys, can you give me more to do, kind of a thing?
And not even that way. I was just like, where do you see this and what's going to happen? And, I wasn't in a position to, say, hey, I want,
Sure.
8.3 scenes per episode.
Right.
No. I was happy to just see television was radically changing at that point.
Yeah.
We were having multiple storylines. We were having big casts. Hill Street Blues. Hill Street Blues was a game changer.
Sure.
In my,
Yeah, that's
for
true.
me.
Oh, yeah.
The whole story
It was a game
arcs,
changer.
yeah.
It was, you had multiple characters with multiple storylines, and that's what I thought it was going to do. And Gene Roddenberry himself said to me, that's not what this is going to be.
Right.
He was still modeling from the original.
Sure.
And that was in the 60s,
Yeah.
and things were changing.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth.
Next Generation was a larger cast than the original. I mean, there were
like
more
8 of us
Yes.
in the original,
Right.
and because they didn't quite know what they were doing.
Right.
Worf was not going to be; he was going to be, and then he was like on my shoulder, and like,
Yeah.
"Who are you?" And I'm security, but who are you? And
Right,
you know,
right.
It was like, what am I
was a little
doing
crowded.
here?
Well, and then you mix Gene Roddenberry's kind of antiquated view of things mixed with the idea that, he always had this sort of utopian view of the future where everybody gets along and we're all one big happy family and there are children on the ship and all that. And what you're kind of doing is you're sort of removing all the pegs that you need for drama.
Right.
And I think that
Right.
kind of, and I hate to say this, but once you got kind of pushed into the background, the show got better.
Well, that's the truth. We have to say it.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
to
Say it,
at
Denise.
this point.
Say it. Say it.
And, Gene created this amazing thing. But
did.
Michael Piller, when he came on, the scripts, the writing is the key. The writing
Yes.
is where
Absolutely.
it starts. And, I had to leave the show to get the best episode. I had to die
well,
to get the best
and that's the most
episode.
incredible
Well, that's
thing.
the funny thing too,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that first of all, I have issues about that episode when you go. I kind of wanted you to go a little bit more,
That's a consensus, though, right? The idea
When
that
I die?
you're dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tasha,
that's
I
a
want.
given.
I mean,
Yeah.
I wanted you to go out with guns a blazing,
Well,
and I think
wanna
I was
say,
really.
though, I want to say though that even though I do kind of feel that way, at the same time, there's something about the randomness
Yes,
and
that
the
was-
quickness of it that's like, holy shit, did Tasha Yar just die? Like, it's
Yeah.
kind of like, because that's kind of like, I mean, life can be like that.
Well,
so it's like,
yeah.
but in its own way, though, it's effective. And this,
Yes.
this
in a
episode-
weird way. You see it, and not most people don't feel that was the intention.
Yeah.
Right.
That was the
Skin of
intention.
Evil.
Yes,
episode
Skin of Evil.
So
That
I'm,
was definitely the-
I'm like most people, Sean.
Well, no,
Yeah,
but
most
you're
people.
creating, but you're
yes.
creating. If you're creating a show with a certain mood, all of a sudden now someone just randomly dies.
Right.
It kind of didn't fit with what came before.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
Look, I have random death in my world.
right, in the real
On
world.
television, I'd like a little drama involved.
Yeah.
I'd like
Right.
But it is true, Denise, though, that once they got rid of your character, I mean, you do pop up later on
in a very memorable way.
That is the most incredible thing. Is the fact that you left the show and all of a sudden you come back and you make like the most famous episodes of the series.
Denise,
Crazy.
Fucking ironic.
When
is that?
I saw that episode, I'll never forget watching that episode, and I hear your voice at the very end, and you have that line. You don't know where human.
Well, wait, right. What was it?
Oh,
Go ahead. Are we jumping ahead? Because there's first before.
Yes,
before.
go
Oh,
ahead.
you're talking about the Romulan.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No,
Go
I'm
ahead.
talking about yesterday's
Yesterday's
Enterprise.
Enterprise.
Yesterday's
Yeah, Larry.
Enterprise.
Well, yeah, but because I have her action figure
know.
here.
Okay,
That's
calm
why.
down. Calm down.
And it's I want
Put it down off your chest
Yes.
now,
Yes.
okay?
Stop-
Take it off your chest.
Stop smelling its air.
Put it-
because I
put
just
it
wanna,
on the table.
I just want to point out it is mint in
Put it-
package, and the little
And the air is
unpunched.
unbreathed.
Yes.
Mint in
Unwrapped.
package, and now everyone loves
That
it.
is
Okay.
so
Just to kind of recap, though, for yesterday's Enterprise, which I think was the second or third season episode, that
Third
season,
think so.
because what happens is there's another Enterprise comes from the past, comes through a wormhole or a time rift, and that ship coming into our time suddenly makes
Creates
our
an
reality-
alternate universe.
So suddenly
Yeah.
you're seeing
An alternate future.
Right, so you're seeing Picard on the bridge and Worf's behind him, and suddenly there's like a weird little shift, and now it's Tasha Yar's behind him,
Yeah.
as if Tasha Yar never died,
Yeah.
and Worf's not there,
And the Federation's at war. And
right, and only Guinan is aware of, like, she's sensing that something's wrong because Guinan never actually met Tasha Yar in the regular reality. So she's like, she keeps going up to Picard, going like, Picard, Captain, there's
Who is she
something
again?
not right here. Yeah, she like keeps giving.
Who's
you
that blonde
evil
bitch on the
eye.
bridge?
So and eventually you start to wonder too, and it's just a really amazing episode because it's like.
Talk about
it's
good
as if-
writing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
as if Tasha never died.
That writing. Okay, so when I got called, I was called from Rick Berman, the producer, exec producer, who said, there's a script I really want you to read, and it's Tasha's alive.
Right.
Ew. But wait, it's like one of those, not one of those, Dallas episodes where we're in the shower and it's all been a dream.
Right.
Okay, promise
Or
me.
Saint Elsewhere.
No,
So,
no,
like
no.
a dream
Yeah.
of a little child.
It's not. It's just, can I give it to you? I think you'll love it. And he sent me yesterday's. He goes, first of all, would you be willing to come back and do a show? I said, of course, my God. So he sent me the script. Oh my God, I read it. It was flawless. It was
really
the
is good.
best episode I had read. I said, oh my God, I just can't wait. This is so cool. And then Christopher McDonald, great actor. Christopher McDonald gets cast as Lieutenant Castillo.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We had I had the best time ever shooting, and I had some great time shooting that show because Jonathan Frakes and Brent Spiner are insane. But they, Chris McDonald rates up there, and the first scene I have with him is he is Lieutenant Richard Castillo and Lieutenant Tasha Yar. And we're very formal with each other, and we're forced suddenly to work with each other. And we're standing at the bar, and he said, so Lieutenant Yar, what do your friends call you? She was well, you can call me Tasha. And I said, what do I call you? And Lieutenant Castillo. He said, you can call me Dick. And that was not in the script. And I fell on the floor. And he and I, the whole episode was about not making me laugh.
Wow.
That is great.
Now, but what's another great thing about the episode is the legacy that caused in the arc of the show, of the series, because I mean, look, I think we're giving spoilers away here, but I think people listen to this
Yeah,
podcast,
exactly.
the show. But
Yeah.
basically, Tasha Yar, she actually goes back into the alternate universe, even though she really doesn't belong there.
To help that Enterprise.
Because the other captain dies when the Klingons
Yeah.
attack.
To make the future the way we
Right.
know it to be.
Right.
To correct it.
So she goes back, which corrects the real, the timeline that we know of. So that Tasha Yar exists in the past. And that causes another character to come about.
The ship
Sheila?
gets, and then you get captured by the Romulans. Now, is it a consensual relationship with the new Romulan
A
captain?
Romulan captain?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
And that was my, I originally pitched that story idea for Sela. That was my idea.
No, I didn't know
My
that.
idea was that Tasha was pregnant
Right.
when she went back on the Enterprise C with Castillo's baby.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And that was the story I pitched. And Rick Berman, I had lunch with him. I presented this idea, gave me an idea of Sela. And he said, let me think about it. Let me think about it. Great seeing you again. And I thought, okay, I'll never see you again. And a couple months went by, and I get a call, and he said, we're going to go with this idea that Tasha had a child.
So it was like a half-breed Romulan and human.
Well, she wouldn't have been. Originally, my idea was that I was sort of playing with Dances with Wolves. That was the movie
Sure.
that was out at the time.
Yeah.
And I thought, how interesting for a child who is one thing to be raised completely by another thing and assume all of the characteristics and, logic and whatever of that where she's been raised. So Castillo and Tasha would have kept Tasha alive because she was pregnant, and they would have used that baby as sort of a bargaining chip for the Federation. Yeah. The Romulans are that savvy that they would have said, oh no, let's raise this child as one of us, but she's really one of their most beloved officers. Yeah. So we're going to keep her, and she's going to be raised a Romulan, and she's going to kill her Federation people, her mother's people.
Right.
Okay? Or she would ultimately be a bridge to peace.
Right. So lots of ways to go with that.
That was many ways to go. So that was what I pitched. And, that was my idea. And I heard a couple months later, Rick calls me up and said, I like that story. We're going to change it a little bit, though.
Right.
Instead of Castillo and Tasha, having a baby, because I don't know when the time for them to...
The time?
I said
10 minutes.
I said 5. I said 5 minutes. I don't know what you guys do on Earth, but 5 minutes is all it takes. Okay, but
I'm a romantic, so it's 10.
Clearly. I'm like let's do it and get out of here.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
So they didn't go. They said, we're going to have her captured by a Romulan general as a concubine, and that's Sela's, dad.
But having said that,
worked. That was cool.
And you as a Romulan is quite striking.
And that's
half.
Yes.
But
and
half
that's when we
Romulan.
get to this moment, man. That's when we get to that moment. When I was watching that episode, Sean.
Oh God, an action. He's
we
holding
have
an
an-
action figure again, ladies.
We have an action figure.
But your presence actually is first kind of felt in an earlier episode, right? It's the Mind's Eye episode where they
In the
brainwashed
shadows.
Geordi, right? Isn't that don't you hear your voice? Or I thought
Yes,
you kind of you were like
only
your
the
background.
voice.
Yeah. But then it was in Redemption, right? Redemption, which is the Klingon Civil War.
One of my favorite episodes of the entire show. I love that story arc is so great.
Yeah.
But I want to get back to what you were describing as your story, which, hey, I love the way those episodes went, but I have to say, your idea, I think, has more possibilities. I think is more interesting. Here is this prize of the Romulan Empire with no ears.
With not really a Romulan.
Yeah, and such a fuck you to the Federation.
Yeah.
I know.
How great is that?
I know.
That's true. Yeah.
I think that's a lot better, and I think they all made a mistake.
No, I don't think so.
Where it gets really good is the online, Star Trek Online. Have you been, I've been doing Sela on the online game.
Right, yes,
really?
yeah.
It's very cool. They get really into these cool storylines.
But it's a great character, though, because she's very much... She was very much like a puppet master she's trying to keep the Civil War with the Klingons going. She wanted... And then later in Unification... which where Spock comes into the Next Generation world, she's trying to. Really, the Romulans were kind of trying to take over Vulcan in a way.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah.
But she was always in the shadows behind, trying to do all these big maneuvers.
Yep.
which is really cool.
and now she's the Empress
That's
of
right.
Romulan.
Yeah.
And you had a great costume with great shoulders, and you had an awesome haircut.
I'm a blonde Romulan.
You are. And
A blonde.
that's pretty
and
awesome.
But around that
Only-
time when the show was made, that was just like something you bought off the rack, right?
right.
It was very, we love fashion. You
Oh,
and
you-
I.
oh, of
yeah.
course.
It was very Terry Mugler. Shoulder pads, you
Yeah.
know,
Yes.
80s,
Yeah.
retro 80s thing.
Matt, when I look at you,
Yeah.
I think Mr. Fashion.
Oh, yeah. Look at right.
But
Yeah.
getting back to when you first see her, when she has that great line,
Right.
you never know where humans will pop up or something like that, and you pop out of the shadows, and I flipped out when I saw you. Oh, she's got put out. Oh my god! And I like.
I'm sure
Yeah,
you-
a lot of people. We're all just
Well,
How
exactly? What
and,
the fuck?
and I thought that was so great. And it's like, look,
That's
yes,
cool.
you may have left the show, that first year, but look, we are mentioning some that really stand out that you are in. I mean,
That's
you were in
so
some great,
cool.
great.
It's
pieces.
crazy that you come back and then you're like in the best episodes.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
I know.
That's a pretty
I know
rare
it,
feat.
I know it kills all the other actors.
Yeah, screw 'em. But I have this action figure which I've had for. Actually, I have two
Yes,
of them.
two of them.
Mint in package.
One for each nipple.
Yeah. and you look absolutely great. This is
Well,
fantastic. Look at this.
thank you.
But I'll never forget when Rumor came out. The Galoob did the first Star Trek Next Generation toys, and
Yep.
the action figures, they're a little smaller than. It seems like they're more detailed than the Star Wars figures of the day from the 83, 85, 87. And then when this came out, I remember going, "Oh, I got to try and get the whole set." But then Rumor got out that one of the characters was going to go, and then when it got out, Tasha Yar was going to
Wow.
go. I quickly bought. I had
Like 50.
no,
There was a run.
No,
There was a run at KB
Denise,
Toys.
Not 50. I only have 4.
Yeah.
Only 4.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
I blame you
That's
for
more
still-
than me. Okay, that's just more than me.
But
Let me-
still, the thing that's beautiful. I mean, these are still mint in their little sealed packages.
So- but here's a
Love
question
that.
then.
Just hang on to them.
I
You promise me when we're like 110,
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
oh,
we can
we're-
come back and do this show, and we'll pull them out of the cobweb.
He will have them.
I go, honey.
I guarantee
look
you that.
at me.
But here's a question, because I've always wondered about this. Here you are, you do this show, and now you're walking around through whatever, Sears or Toys R Us. Sears. You're just hanging out
I
at
got
Sears.
my washer and dryer.
Just hanging out at Sears.
Okay.
And there you go, like, holy shit, there I am. And how
that whole
strange,
phenomenon.
what just a weird, surreal experience that must be to just look at plastic you and go,
And merchandise of all merchandise of all
Denise, go ahead and
kind.
hold this. What does that feel like? There, you're holding you.
Oh.
I mean,
These. I remember posing for these. This
Really?
this guy. Yeah, this person comes.
so you just
to
like
the,
straight, like,
Yeah, like side turn to
don't move your neck.
a bunch of photographs. I'm in my suit. I'm in my shitty trailer, in the front of my shitty trailer, and in between scenes. And I'm thinking, wow, they're gonna make like a doll of me, like an action figure. I don't even know. And then this is what appears.
but
And I go, wow,
But this-
really?
and-
This is what, wow.
wait, but
I'm
Denise,
like a tranny. I'm a tranny.
Oh, Denise, no.
And that's okay, but it
but
was
this
like,
is when-
it was,
yeah.
I don't, really, after all that,
Okay,
that's when you
Action
came up-
figures are more sophisticated now.
and
Like
look,
now,
look, Galoob
and my
lost.
boobs are enormous. Like
Well,
I'm like,
okay,
I have
well,
a, like
well,
a
no, hold
triple
on.
G.
No, wait a minute.
Let's not lose
I
our
have a
heads
triple
here.
G.
I think, but
Okay.
then Playmates gets a hold of
course.
the lease,
License.
and look at this
Okay.
figure.
great radio.
Spinning
Look at
image of
great
you.
podcast.
Look at the figure. you
Okay,
figure-
this is looking a little better.
Yes.
Okay, I'm
that looks
looking
like
a little
you-
more femme.
You sure are
And-
articulated.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah,
my
you're right.
legs
I'll
are
say.
open.
No, wait, Denise, no.
Along with your heart.
Denise, this is a child's toy, okay? You're
my
you're
legs
posed.
are,
You're
no,
posed
I mean,
like
not in that way.
No,
you know,
you're like standing.
I'm
you're
hip.
like
I'm
Yeah.
hip width.
Yes, you're like badass.
a slight bend
Tasha
in the knee.
Yar.
No, you mentioned Larry has more than you do, but you do have like all the different variations of
Okay,
your own
look,
action figure, right?
I gave a lot.
You don't have these posed up on a shelf in your house? What?
Yes, I
Larry
do,
has two.
Do you have the disco one? There's like a glittery
it's a
one.
literal. No, it's a transporter one. It's the transporter version.
Oh yeah. Of course you would know that.
Yes, of course. Yes, and it's really cool.
And I'm not seeing that on the table.
Well,
Larry.
So I'm about to leave.
No, Denise, don't leave. No, there's a long story. I know. I have a
That
lot.
was just a little single box one.
Yeah. It's it's very special, and I have a lot of collection that is kind of packed. It's kind of difficult to get at.
Well,
Because that's the best way to enjoy it.
Put it out. On the show.
Yes,
Okay,
Denise,
so
I will.
One of my coolest stories, because we're on the action figure,
Yeah.
is I was doing a Pasadena Comic-Con.
I was there.
And
my
I
wife and I were
had
too.
just met Quentin Tarantino, and his movie Reservoir Dogs, his first film, was screening at Sundance that year.
Okay.
So he had made it. I had read the script. I knew how great it was, and I met him at a party, and he came to see me at this Pasadena Comic-Con, and he was on his way to Sundance, as was I. So he bought my action figure. He stood in line and bought my action figure and had me sign it so he could put it up next to his John Travolta Saturday Night Fever action figure.
Wow.
And I thought John and and I asked him, could you dance us? Could you make a dance for us?
Are they still mint in package though? Did he take them out of the package?
I'm sorry.
Only you. I'm going to ask Quentin that.
Yeah, you
Next
ask him
time.
because I'll tell him.
Am I still packaged? Am I still mint?
Because if not, that figures
what's the real term I have to use?
No, it's just you make it package.
See,
Yeah.
I prefer to have your action figures out of the package,
Actually, touching and playing.
touching, loving,
Caressing.
Yeah.
holding hands, making all kinds of
We don't need
friends.
to go there.
Right.
We don't need to go there.
We have to go there eventually. So
Well, and it was weird having a son,
Sure.
And I have a 17-year-old. He does have one of my action figures on his little windowsill.
That's awesome.
And I'm sure he beats it nightly. I mean, not in that way. Like bashes, like mom.
No,
Denise Crosby, everybody.
I know, you know what I mean.
No, Denise, I don't think he does that. I think
I hope not. I'm
sure
an
he has it
optimist.
in a place of honor and he respects it, and he's probably thrilled to have mom be on a shelf.
But, it was
watching
really weird
him.
because, I had to hide those. It was weird having a kid.
Yeah.
To have a mom have an action figure.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Like, are you
Yeah,
going to
it's-
put me with your Legos?
crazy.
Or that's
yeah.
a little weird.
So I got to tell you a very fast story. But so I used to have this joke in my act, which is based on a real story. So I'm very good friends with Danielle Koenig, who is the daughter of Walter Koenig, who's Chekhov. And when I first met her, my agent was her agent, and I thought that she was super cute and she was funny. She did stand up too. And I had this joke about that, hey, maybe I should ask her out. We could go back to my place. Who knows what could happen? But then I thought, wait a minute. I've got an action figure of her dad on my shelf. And what could destroy a sexual encounter faster than seeing your dad staring down at you?
Exactly.
Honey, get out of here.
know.
I've been in his ass. Get out of here.
And Denise, that is why.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's why I
That's-
never touch
I know.
Matt's
I know.
action figures.
Yeah.
But it must-
we don't know where they've been.
No.
It is really cool. Like we were just saying, that how even though you left the show, you end up doing these great, memorable episodes of the series. And I have to ask, did you just get fucking tired of people asking you, do you regret leaving Next Generation? Because it was just always the go-to question to people.
Of course,
Right, right.
because it's, who does that? I mean, it's so
Right.
it's so radical, and I'll always be asked that, and depending where I'm at and my mood or whatever, I
Right.
try to.
Yeah,
answer it
you've never
concisely.
worked again.
I know.
That's it. Ray Donovan, The Walking Dead, X-Files.
No, but it really is a unique. You really do hold kind of a unique place in the whole series, in the whole Star Trek universe. In
And
a way,
by
It's
accident,
It's
by
true.
accident, none of it was planned, none of it was, orchestrated
Yeah,
in that
yeah,
way. It was really, I was flying by the seat of my pants as always, and it goes the way it's going to go.
Now, are you still friends with the actors that you worked with on Next Generation, or do you hang out? Or
No, we don't. None of us hang out.
Right.
I mean, maybe a couple of them. Gates McFadden was the artistic director of Ensemble Studio Theater, which is my theater company that I'm a member
wow.
of. So we got to work as in theater, which we had never done. but we see each other, at these cons, and
Sure.
and we adore each other, and we have great dinners together, and our lives continue to change and grow, and everybody is evolving into who they are now.
Those conventions too. Now, if we can jump a little bit to Trekkies.
Oh, Trekkies.
Because
Such a-
Trekkies, this is where
Trekkies and Trekkies too.
This is the one time I can say that I've actually been in a film with one of our guests.
Wow. Oh, that's right.
I was in Trekkies.
That's right.
You are the host of Trekkies,
Which is a documentary.
a documentary about Star Trek fans, and it covers the fans, it covers conventions,
And it's great.
and it's so good. Directed by
1997.
our lovely friend Roger Nygaard. We love you, Roger, wherever you are.
Roger, we love you. Come back from Thailand.
Get help, Roger.
Matt, there is some controversy though.
Everyone loves you.
Now, Matt, there is some controversy.
Go to the
though.
doctor as soon as you arrive.
There's
some
a series of salves that will help whatever you have.
And
Some people.
inoculations, as I recall.
All right. We did our Thailand joke. Okay.
The topic is
Yes. So no, but there was a little controversy. When I saw it, I really liked it. I liked it a lot. But
Loved
some
it.
people, I did love it. But some people feel that it shows Star Trek fans who go to the extreme on one end, and then there's kind of the little more freakyish or strange side.
Well,
but
you have to, if you're going to do a documentary about that, you got to
gotta
show all of it.
That's how I felt, Matt. I felt you had to cover it all, and I didn't feel bad about the guy who only makes the evil stuff. I actually liked that.
What?
The guy who was
he
always
in
the guy who was in the Christopher Pike machine, and he was making the robot,
right,
and
right.
yeah, I mean, I actually liked that stuff.
Yeah,
Well, I liked all of it. I mean, like the kid,
Gabriel.
Gabriel. Gabriel is like, you look at that guy and you're like,
No.
man, I know you.
Yes,
I know you.
Isn't he the quintessential Star Trek fan?
Yes.
I mean, Galaxy Quest, I screen Trekkies
Holy,
for
yes,
the
that
writers
character is
of
modeled
Galaxy
Yeah.
Quest.
Wow. Wow.
That's awesome.
My friend was working as a D-girl for the people that made Galaxy Quest, and they signed on new writers to do a rewrite who had never been to a Star Trek convention and asked if they could see Trekkies. And we were screening Trekkies around town at that point for distribution. And I was screened it at Universal, and I said, absolutely, come to the screening. And those guys... and watch Galaxy Quest.
Yeah. Yes,
There's
very
like
much so.
a kid,
Absolutely.
if I'm
Yes.
not mistaken, and I love that movie so much that
a great movie.
I
Yes.
give it to them.
No,
But
you were like an executive producer.
Yes, that's how you got involved
on
in
Trekkies,
on Trekkies.
yes, it was my idea.
Yeah, and Denise, there must have been so much footage. I mean, that
you went
you
to
guys-
all these
we didn't
conventions
have
and-
the luxury. We were really indie grunge filmmakers
okay.
for the first Trekkies. We didn't
Yeah.
have the luxury of just shooting, reams of film and then making a film in the editing room. Although, thank God, Roger is an editor and is masterful at putting together that film. But we were very concise, and we were shooting on like tail ends of stock, and because we shot that on 35.
35.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
the first one.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
The experience I had watching it reminded me of, at some moments, watching like a Christopher Guest mockumentary, like Best in Show in
Yeah,
particular.
totally.
That's great.
The difference being that in one of those, you're sort of laughing at the characters, and here I was laughing at the subjects as well, but I was also identifying with just about all of them.
Yes.
Because I could not... I couldn't deny that, yes, I share obsessions the same way that they
Sure,
do. There's
sure.
a
Right.
universality to it.
Gabriel has his social awkwardness and all that kind of stuff, and maybe the social skills don't always come when he needs them.
Right.
But at the same time, the kid's clearly a genius. Like, he's
Really
so
sharp.
Absolutely.
great.
Sharp.
And like, you look at all the stuff that he's doing for that series that he's doing, designing all these ships and doing
Yeah.
these special
And
effects.
Gabriel has gone on to do all kinds of Emmy Award winning, nominated. Gabriel called me en route to the Emmys
No.
a couple years ago,
Wow.
and I went, "Holy shit! I'm not going to the Emmys.
Yeah.
Shall I kill myself now? He said, I just want to call you and thank you
That's
for all
so
That's
that
so
you've done.
great.
Yeah.
And he continues to. I mean, he's done huge special effects, in major television shows and movies.
That's like the
You
best
look at his
story. Like, I mean, a show that inspires the creativity in someone, and just
That's a very good point, and that's what kind of draws us to this genre and horror and
Absolutely.
sci-fi is that it sort of sparks our imagination. It wants us to. I think every one of us at some point wanted to be in the business because of the things that we saw.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
inspired.
Yeah.
And Denise, I think my wife and I were attending. They have these Star Trek conventions called, I think, Grand Slam conventions out in L.A. and I think it was in Pasadena. And I remember my wife and I were attending one of these. It was all the classic Trek guests and stuff, and we saw you walking around with the cameraman, like, that's Denise Crosby. What is she? She's like filming stuff. What is she? We didn't know at the time that was obviously for Trekkies.
That was for Trekkies, and that was in our backyard here in LA. So that was a natural. And yes, creation conventions used to do the Pasadena big show. They don't do anymore.
Right.
It was a big one
And-
Thanksgiving, like every Thanksgiving, wasn't there?
Wow,
Thanksgiving weekend.
I can't remember the timeline, but
Arbor Day.
it was an easy grab.
Right,
and that was a very interesting moment in our filming of Trekkies because months before I had approached Creation, who I had appeared many times as a guest, and said, we're doing a documentary, and do you mind if we just have a camera and a small crew and we just film, grab stuff, and have access to different things? The promoter said, absolutely, feel free. And it's the only time I actually rented lights, a light package, it was called. You got, this light and that light and a couple little extras.
We're in the business.
You know what I mean. So otherwise we were just, whatever stuff we had, we were filming.
Sure.
And we got to Pasadena early in the morning before the convention opened, and we set up and we were all ready to go. And we had this, rental light package, and we started to go in the building, and I get this guy in this suit, this big, husky guy who was like a Secret Service agent for the guy. And he comes over and goes, Miss Crosby, I'm so sorry, but you have to stop filming. I said, what do you mean? I'm sorry, but the promoters don't want you to film. And I said, wait a minute,
Creation?
I'm confused as to what you're talking about. And they said, well, I don't know. I'm just relaying the message, but you have to shut down. You can't film the rest of the day. So I said, wait a minute. Where is Adam, who is the promoter? Take me to him. And Roger's going, okay, come, Roger, come with me. So this big burly guy in the suit walks us down to the basement of the Pasadena, where was it? Like a Pasadena
Convention Center.
Convention Center, like a
Yeah.
big, massive thing. And we're down in the basement. And here's Adam, the head of this whole creation, talking to some guy, and I come walking up. I said, Adam, what happened? And this was months planning,
Sure, yeah.
And he said, Denise, stop. I don't want to talk about it. I said, wait a minute, Adam, wait a minute. Wait, you have to talk about it. What's going on? And he said, you are not being honest. You have a lot of money here. You're getting a lot of money, and you're using us. And I said, a lot of money? There's no money. We're making a documentary. We're just doing this. He goes, Denise, I don't want to talk about it. I said, Adam, I've brought a crew and we've rented a thing. And he goes, if you don't leave, I will throw you out. What the hell? And I said, no. Are you going to get Klingons to pick me up? And I said, Adam, I'm going to film it. You are going to be toast.
Fantastic.
And I was fuming. And Roger had to said, Roger, Mr., neutralizer, just said, Denise, don't react. Let's just go up. I said, I cannot believe he must be on drugs. he has to be on drugs. There's something wrong with him. This makes no sense. He's illogical. We were making like a grungy, nobody had seen any footage.
Right.
Nothing. There was no money. We weren't like being infused with cash from Paramount. There was no money. We were shooting, everybody was working for free. And everybody, meaning 3 people,
Right.
sound, camera, and a grip. And I was just blown away. And for years, I didn't speak to anybody in this organization. And I said, Roger, I said, they are not going to have credit on this film. Because we had like reams of thank yous.
Sure.
You know,
I remember seeing
I said,
them.
I want that off. I want that off. I don't want them. They are disgusting. How dare they? They wouldn't even have a business if it weren't for us.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You're right.
And oh my God, we were livid. And, Roger said, just be neutral. But, I'm Irish. We're not neutral. We're not neutral. We're not known for neutrals.
So, Denise, what did you do?
Well, I wanted to kill, so we kept filming all day.
You said screw it.
I was gonna say, because we
Fuck
saw
you, Adam.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
kept filming.
Yes.
And I said, you get a fucking Klingon on me, I'm filming him, and I'm going to take you down.
Yeah.
So did you ever get a reason? Did you really ever find out what it was?
No.
Like they just got cold feet or something, or just like they thought maybe you're exploiting
They are
the
oh God, this is going to kill me. But on the air, they'll hear it, and I'll never work for them again. I don't care. But they are
Creation.
notorious. Yeah,
Well, I've heard that too.
Yeah,
They smelled what they thought was money.
Right.
Yeah.
And they wanted it. They wanted in. They felt we were not letting them in, and that distorted some weird thing. And
God,
you know,
He saw the light kit and thought that this was top dollar.
Yeah, why? Yeah, right. Yeah.
right.
Denise,
That's like someone's like, oh, he must be important. He has
Yeah.
a business card.
they saw a lamp.
They saw
Right,
lamp.
yeah.
Denise, that's right, because Tasha Yar would do the same thing. She'd be
right.
ballsy. She'd go, I'm going to film this anyway. I
Sheila
love
does
that
the same
about
thing.
you. That's
I
great.
embodied her
Yes.
at that moment.
Yes, you did.
Could you imagine if you had then turned to all the crowd there and like, they want to stop us from filming you guys?
Yeah.
I was so prepared. I just wanted a Klingon to physically get me
And to get me on
or
camera.
something.
That would have
and
been the
get
greatest.
It. And they, I never heard from them again
Well,
that day.
well, yeah.
I just kept filming all day
that's
long.
so
But I
weird.
had to talk myself. I mean,
Right,
I was ready to.
Well, yeah, especially after it had all been approved, and you get there on the day
months,
of the
and
morning.
it was so
such
it
bullshit.
was so
Weird.
random and off the wall and illogical.
Yes.
How about also like the idea like we're not going to talk about it? How about
That's
taking you
right.
aside and
Yeah.
and talking it over?
Right. Like,
Wow.
what's your beef? Like, what did I say?
It goes against everything what
but it's
Star
a
Trek
control
and
thing.
everything
I
is all
know.
about. Seriously.
And believe me, most of the actors, it's a Faustian deal.
Sure.
with this
Sure, yeah.
particular
Sure.
group because
This organization, yeah.
they are the official. By the way, the only official licensee with.
Oh, really?
But
For convention.
Are they still active? Because I don't see creation conventions anymore.
Not
Not as
like
much
they were.
here,
They've
yeah.
branched off. They, whether they're doing Supernatural.
yeah, they do Supernatural and
Whatever
Xena
they're-
and-
Two broke girls.
Teen Wolf. I don't know.
CSI.
Right.
Yeah.
The Kardashians. I don't know what they're doing. They'll do whatever.
Oh, the Pawn
you know.
Stars convention.
Right.
Now, Denise, in general, though, because you explore the whole fandom in Trekkies, has it always been something comfortable for you and has always been positive for you as far as your fan base and
Always.
I mean, okay.
Look, the fans, you cannot have it's the most symbiotic relationship I've ever seen with any,
Right.
The Walking Dead, I see that a little bit
Sure.
as well, but the Star Trek is the granddaddy.
Oh,
of them
yes.
all.
Oh,
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it sort of opened the doors for that interaction, that
Sure.
kind of relationship, that con stuff, which has created its own world now, its own
Absolutely,
niche. And there's always, whenever I go to a con, there's always one person that will just absolutely blow my mind and, touch my heart.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And and I don't know where it's coming from or what it's going to be. And it's not a typical thing.
Right.
There's
That's
not a
great.
pattern, but somebody will come to me and they'll be so real and genuine and just they'll tell me something that happened And I'll just go, oh my, and it might be a kid. It might be, my personal favorite is about 2 years ago, I was in Calgary, Canada, at the Comic-Con, which I didn't realize Calgary had the most gigantic Comic-Con I've ever seen.
Really? In Calgary?
Yeah.
Calgary.
Bigger than even San Diego?
In San Diego?
Well, there
Probably
were
rivals
at
that.
least
Comparable?
100,000. Wow. And it was the first time and the only time that I'm aware of right now that the next gen has been on one stage at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Because there's usually one of us missing.
Sure.
So we were all there. Will, me, everybody. And it was huge. And it was moderated. I think Shatner moderated it.
Shatner?
Wow.
Yeah, he'll moderate a number of these for us. And it's funny because Shatner, I don't think he's ever seen an episode of Next Gen.
I guarantee you.
Which I personally love because I'm that sick, with the humor. I get the humor.
Right.
Some of the other guys are not so cool with
Sure.
it, but I love that he's never seen an episode.
Yeah.
Because a fan will say, like with the Tagarians or whatever the horse head that came in the bed and whatever, and he'll go, really? What, Denise? Really? Yes, Bill. I was a half Romulan.
As long as he doesn't
And what
get
was
it all wrong.
what was a Romulan? Yeah. I mean, like he's just he's
That's
so
hilarious.
funny.
But so you were in Calgary.
Okay, so we were in Calgary, and I was at my autograph table, and I see across the room a lovely gentleman who's in crutches, and he's clearly got, I'm thinking MS. He's struggling, but he's proud, and he's by himself, and he's got my photograph under his arm, and he's making his way, and the line to my table is one of those zigzag things, and he slowly makes his way, and he can't really talk, and he gives me his photograph, and he's worked so hard to get there, and I signed to him, and I gave him a hug, and he proudly puts it under his arm, and he makes his way through the line to the next table.
Wow.
I was like, that really was profound, and it moved me so much that I had to get up from my table, and I went into the ladies' room and, just kind of took hold of myself and just realized, people are, they're sensitive and kind, and they're moved by the show.
Yeah.
And it was so deeply touching. I'll never forget it. He didn't want help.
Right.
He didn't have anyone helping him.
right.
He was there as a fan.
Yeah.
And it was so beautifully moving to me. And he went to each one of us like that. And I watched him do it. And I'm still, to this day, touched.
It's just like you're a part of something that it touches so many different people. Like it's a spark in somebody's life.
I can't really describe that part of it. It's you're grateful enough to be an actor to be able to get a gig.
Yeah, just to be an
pay the
actor
bills.
is hard enough.
Just to pay the bills.
act. Yeah, to do that as a profession.
So suddenly you get people coming up to you who have these moments where it's touched their lives in a deeply personal way.
Yeah.
Whether it's the soldier who's been in Iraq who couldn't get through, who I met a guy who he was a medic who went in with his unit, and they were clearing this room, and he was just the medic. He wasn't even he was there to back them up, and the sergeant opened the fridge and it was loaded.
Oh man!
And just blew everything up, and everybody was blown away. And his legs were blown off, and he was the medic, and he had to grab those morphine. He had whatever morphine vials on him, and he had to jab them into each one of those guys, forgetting him, not thinking himself. And then he looked down, and he had no legs.
Oh my God!
And he went through the process of healing and rehab and all of that. And he said that he obviously, went through dark moments, but he would watch Star Trek.
Right. It's like an escape from real life, It's like
It's also very uplifting and
we can
be better than this.
Yeah, we
do
can
this.
have a future.
One of the most affecting moments I remember in Trekkies is the James Doohan story about the suicidal.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Where he gets pretty emotional remembering it.
We all have. You cannot. I mean, I defy that you would be at this point in my career, having lived now for 27 years, hearing what I've heard and being part of this, that it is so beyond, it's bigger than me.
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost like it becomes like an obligation too, almost because it's got to be hard too. So every signature, just to kind of be positive and be open to everybody that comes over to you. Like you want to give everybody their moment. You want to be.
It is.
Right.
It's
it's got to be a lot of work, but
you're open. You leave yourself open to this.
And that's why, as much as I love, for example, the SNL bit that had Shatner saying "Get a life" and all that,
right.
we all laughed at that.
We did.
It's funny.
Sure.
It is, yeah.
Sure.
But with him, just the idea that you can make this show and hey, it's just a job, and it becomes this cultural phenomenon, and it really touches people that. To kind of write it off as what? Hey, what are you guys are just nerds? No, you never know the thing that you create. Your art will touch someone.
Yeah.
And that's an important responsibility. And how wonderful does that add to your career?
It's more about your humanity. It's not about it. It becomes not about your career. It's about a shared kind of human experience.
Yes.
And if you leave, and it's hard to be vulnerable like that and leave yourself open to strangers that are coming up to you. There's times when, it's too much.
It's not quite as sweet.
Yeah.
Right,
I'm not, Florence Nightingale here,
Right.
or Mother Teresa by any stretch of the imagination. But it has probably the gift, if I'm walking away from this right now, from, let's say we close it up tonight and I go, it's not about the acting career. It's more about the humanity that I've learned through this.
Right.
And I'm not saying that, to get any, Nobel Peace Prize here. It's really true. Yeah. It's really true. With the humanity, for me personally, that I've learned from this journey in Star Trek
sense of
is much
community.
more profound than my career.
But isn't it
advantage.
interesting, though, that the idea of something that could have been just a simple career choice, a job that you took,
Right.
that now has turned into something else, that thing that you might, at the time, might have thought, oh, it's a silly show and it's a paycheck, touch someone's life.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right,
And
right.
that took me by surprise and continues to take me by surprise. And I'd never take that for granted.
And the thing that I loved about this is it's not just in English-speaking places. And I kind of want to jump to Trekkies too,
too, right,
which
yes.
actually blew me away
Totally
because I never
international.
really thought about it being worldwide. I never really thought, this is my little shallow world, but Star Trek, in my...
We'll elaborate on that later.
Yeah. But the great thing about... So the follow-up, there's Trekkies 2, where you actually go to Europe, right? You go to Germany.
I actually get on a plane
You get on a
and go
plane
to
and you go
Europe.
and what blew me away is I could not believe how huge Star Trek was in Germany, in England. I mean, just all over the place. That
Well,
really,
you would understand Germany.
Of course, yeah.
They love Star Trek. I put on the uniform, and it's militaristic, and we follow the code. So I'm being
Hey, I'm German. I love
I'm
that
just
stuff.
from light. Me too. So I have to.
You will boldly go where no man has gone before.
Oh my God! I took my Jewish husband to Germany with me to the con, and it was like, oh. Tasha Yar, we love her. We want to bring her now to the con. My husband's going, and he's looking at 90-year-old guys in the con and going, Where were you, Fritz? Where were you, Fritz?
Denise, there is a shot. There is a shot in Trekkies 2 when they introduce you to the crowd. And the camera is it's behind, it's kind of from your point of view, and you see over 5,000 people. And it was like you were a rock star. The place, I mean, I've seen you at conventions before, but in Germany, it was like they went nuts.
I know.
Absolute nuts.
And
Our favorite shows are Next Generation and Hogan's Heroes.
No, Matt, come on. No.
I'm sorry, I'll be quiet now.
But so you decided to expand on the whole Trekkies thing.
Well, the whole point being that the first one, was run and shoot
in your backyard,
what we got in my backyard.
Yeah.
Right.
But we knew, it's a global
it's
phenomenon.
global.
And Trekkies 3, hopefully, will, spoiler, will, take us into areas now that I don't know what that looks like. Asia, India,
Podcasts.
Africa.
The internet.
Right.
You guys can come with me. Because we need it, that presence.
You need that
social
party
media
animal that is
presence.
Monster Party.
Yeah,
Trek party.
so, it is a global world of Trekkies. So that was the point of Trekkies too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things that I enjoy about all those movies is that, again, there are the sweet fans, and then there are the ones that are kind of kooky, and I don't mean necessarily crazy, but let's just say eccentric.
Sure.
The Spiner Femme was pretty unique.
One of my faves.
One of my,
no question.
hands down. Really, wow, I look at the road that leads to his house.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
great.
I can
great.
look up, and when I need a break, I have a Spiner break.
A Brent break.
A break.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. And then I remember seeing, Roger also showed me a lot of extra things of fan art or presents. And there's that wonderful needlepoint that they did of you.
That's right.
Oh my God.
Denise, you must get, because there's a thing, you get sent pictures of Tasha and, all kinds of pictures.
Well, Brent, that whole
there's that
artwork.
big
I haven't gotten any lately, but
Okay, but you
there's a whole series of, kind of King Arthur,
Yeah.
and Guinevere,
Erotic art.
And there was
erotic art.
there was an episode called The Naked Now.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
In that first season where
A very early episode.
Yeah,
the second
which
or third
is-
episode. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, you'll like this. There's a series of cards that are going to come out.
What?
Wait, Denise, I'll
Of
probably...
the Naked Now.
Playing cards?
I'll probably...
Collector, those cards.
I probably won't take them out of the package.
I will.
Of course you won't.
Yes, I know you will.
I will love them.
And they'll be slimy and slick and everything.
They'll be laminated.
So Denise, I do want to say there. So the Trekkies 1 and Trekkies 2, these were popular, successful. There's enough stuff out there to continue this, and you can hope to do.
My dream has always been a trilogy, boxed trilogy,
Awesome.
because there's a new generation. I want to interview all those guys.
Oh yeah,
JJ and his whole
That's
crew.
true.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
And I buy it. I want you to know that I would buy it.
Okay.
But along the lines of fan gifts, though, if you could, is there anything that you've gotten recently that sort of sticks out in your mind as something that is wow, I didn't see that one coming?
Wow, like gifts.
Or a painting or something that was oh, wow.
There've just been some actually cool stuff, like weird anime, Oh!
Here we go. Here we go.
Oh! Okay.
Oh, my God.
Okay, my favorite thus far is Tasha Yar, My Little Pony.
No way. Are you kidding me?
A customized.
Sorry,
one or
I don't
something?
have.
How does
no?
that-
I have a oil painting
An oil painting?
of Tasha Yar's My Little Pony. So she's a pony.
Wow.
And the My
Like-
Little... Oh my
with
God.
with the uniform and the hair.
Oh,
and
my
but
God.
she's a
Fantastic.
pony.
Because I've read the fan fiction of
Yeah.
Tasha Yar, My
Yeah.
Little Pony.
And there's
but
the Care Bear
No,
data.
you have not.
No.
We could go with that. No, but oh
my wife
God.
loves My Little Pony, so
She does.
Yeah,
She
that's,
does.
So
That's
this
awesome.
was
That's great.
was my favorite thing I've seen in a long time. Now, there's always the tattoos, that people are doing that are always, crazy.
Do they show that? They go, geez, look at my...
Of course.
Really?
Show off their ink, yeah.
Yeah.
wow.
I had one gentleman who had his entire back covered as Tasha Yar.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
His entire
back.
Wow.
Can I just say to people who do that kind of thing, there are cameras now. You don't need to engrave it on your back. You can get a picture and put it in a nice frame.
No, I understand that someone may want that character to be with them always, but
this was like back in the 80s.
Yeah,
like this
yeah.
was like a
yeah.
long.
Wow.
This was right when the show came on.
Right.
This guy.
Wow.
So
Wow,
he's.
really-
I don't.
So
if you're listening, I'm.
Please.
Please.
We're all
take
friends
care.
and wear that Tasha Yar proudly. Take care of your back.
I just
Use lotion.
Yeah,
lotion, yeah, because you got to be cracking by now, baby.
Yeah, right.
Just a lot of like cocoa butter, and just make sure you bathe.
yeah.
Make sure you bathe.
A high SPF.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, she's probably black Tasha Yar.
Wow.
Yet another series of fan fiction that I've enjoyed. Black Tasha Yar.
Only here on Monster Party.
I think.
I want to
Can we
point
take
out.
a bathroom break?
Yes.
Can I take a Brent break?
Yeah.
After Denise and the boys took a bathroom break and then stared at the road that leads to Brent Spiner's house, the Monster Party continued.
So, Denise, we've talked about Star Trek, so I definitely want to
Yes.
get now into some of your other stuff that you've done after Star Trek.
Ton of
because
stuff.
There's a lot of other genre stuff, a lot of other horror stuff that
Yeah.
you've done, which I think our listeners are going to be interested in. Of course, one of the first things that comes to mind, which was made up, I think, pretty soon after you left Next Generation, which was Pet Sematary.
Pet Sematary.
I don't want to be buried in a pet cemetery.
And this is with the great Fred Gwynn.
Fred Gwynn?
Fred Gwynn.
Yes.
Judd Crandall.
Yes, his scariest role since Car 54. Where are you?
Oh my
It
God.
must have been great working with him, though.
Oh my God.
Must it?
So good.
Really?
So good. Yeah. I mean, a legend.
Yeah.
Legend. And he nailed that role.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Judd Crandall,
Yeah. He embodied it.
I
Yeah.
was just going to say, you know.
Had you read the book?
I did. I read the book. I was doing a movie in Nashville called Tennessee Nights with Julian Sands.
Julian Sands?
I know.
He's
Yeah.
great.
He's so great.
Room with a View,
And
Warlock? Yes.
We were staying in the great old hotel where Minnesota Fats lived, the great pool player.
Wow.
It was a historical hotel in Nashville, and we were doing this film called Tennessee Nights. I got the part of Pet Sematary, and Julian had done Mary Lambert, who directed Pet Cemetery.
Yeah,
He had done her first film, which was called Siesta.
Ellen Barkin.
Right.
Ellen
okay.
Barkin, Julian, Jodie Foster,
Not familiar.
Gabriel Byrne,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Good name.
Martin Sheen,
Really?
and Miles Davis did the soundtrack.
No
That's-
way.
That's right.
Very cool
Wow.
film.
Nice.
Very beyond Zalman King.
Oh,
Yeah.
we have a
From Red
special
Shoe
fondness
Diaries.
Yeah,
for
you know.
Zalman King.
Yeah, me
So,
too.
So that
Me
was
too.
Mary's first film.
That was Mary's
And
first.
She came from
film.
like music video.
Music videos
like
where
Madonna.
she and I
Yep.
connected.
Uh-huh.
So I did Mary's first music video, which was a Tom Tom Club music video.
Oh my gosh.
Which song?
As above, so below.
Nice.
Wow.
Very
Awesome.
cool.
Yeah. Yep. So Mary went to RISD, Rhode Island School of Design, with the Talking Heads.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
David Byrne is my David Bowie,
Oh,
the
sure.
next generation.
Sure.
You know?
Right.
And so she and I were turned on to each other in the early 80s, and these things called music videos were being made.
Yeah.
And she had a song that the Tom Tom Club, who she had gone to school with, Tina Weymouth and Chris Franz are still really good friends with Mary. And they basically said, here's a song, do whatever you want. And she made As Above, So Below with me and Judd Nelson for the stars.
No way.
Yeah, very cool. And Bill Pope was the DP. who went on to shoot all the Matrix, all the Spider-Man movies, huge DP. And she and I really hit it off. We just dug each other. All of us, we were all like making this weird, cool music. And even the Red Hot Chili Peppers guy, the lead singer, Anthony Clytus.
Oh, wow.
Played like an extra in it.
Wow.
The Red Hot Chili Peppers were just getting together.
Wow.
And so we did this music video, and it was too weird to be on MTV. This
You're
new
kidding.
network.
Wow.
This new network. But because of that, there was this new artist that was being talked about named Madonna. And Mary did all of Madonna's really her best,
the iconic one.
music
Right,
videos.
right.
Yes,
Right. Material Girl.
Material
probably, right.
Girl. Well, her first one.
It's Lucky Star?
Yes.
Yeah.
Lucky Star. Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't think I knew that, did you?
Lucky Star. That's good. I couldn't even
I was a
remember
Madonna
that.
fan.
Yeah.
Of course you were.
Who was it?
Like a Virgin? Come on.
Yeah, of course.
She did like
She did Like a Virgin, too.
Yes,
Like a Virgin.
she did
That's
like
a great-
a Virgin.
that's an amazing
yes,
video.
like
Love
a
that.
Virgin. And
Sure,
Material
and
Girl
understand, and to listeners, this is
and
back in the
one-
early days,
and
too.
how about the
of videos.
one where she was like crucified because it was religious, iconic,
Like a Prayer.
Like a prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
with
she
a
did
high
that.
controversy.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
it did.
Right.
It's
So Mary and I ended up doing a number of music videos. I did a Mick Jagger video.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
I got to make out with Mick.
Wow.
Are you serious? There aren't many
That's
people.
kind of like,
well, maybe
there's
there are
probably
many.
a lot,
There are,
but
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
but that, oh my God. Okay, so
Was that good? Was he a good kisser?
Yes, but he, of course.
That's a lot
he's
of
Mick
lips.
Jagger. But I was so, I just couldn't even imagine. I was, okay, so, I'm an actress, so
Yeah.
it was,
Yeah.
he had done some other music video with her in Paris. He had broken away from the Stones. It was when he and Keith were
Right.
fighting.
Sure,
and he
sure.
did his solo album called Primitive Cool. Primitive
Yes,
Cool.
right.
Okay. So it had all these really cool musicians, Terry Bozzio was playing drums and not Clapton, but the other English guitarist was playing.
Jeff
Jeff Beck was playing guitar, and all these really cool. I want to almost say like Nigel Rodgers was playing bass, but it wasn't. It might have been someone else. So Mary calls me up and says, "Honey, Niecy," she always called me Niecy. Niecy, she's from Arkansas.
Okay.
Really the sticks. Her sister, by the way, was a senator from Arkansas.
Wow.
Blanche Lambert for many
Wow.
years. Yeah. So she said, "Niecy, I've got to ask you a favor. Can you just come and do this little part for me? It's a music video, and you got to like make out with Mick Jagger."
Let me think about that.
Fucking kidding me? I don't. She goes, "Yeah, just like wear a little simple black dress tomorrow and just come to this bar in Santa Monica, and we're going to shoot this video."
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh my God, I think I showered for like 18 hours. Every fucking orifice on my body." And Mick Jagger was the God
sure.
of my youth.
Sure.
And I thought, oh my God. And he was just so lovely and cool. And yes, I was his girlfriend in this called Throwaway. I think the song is Throwaway. Yeah. And then he jammed like out in the valley with the band. We all went out there and
Wow.
That's,
so Mary and I are tight.
you guys know.
We're
you
tight.
knew Mary Lambert. So how did you get the
Pet
Sematary? Yeah.
Okay, so Mary and I did, her first music video, and then she did the Madonna videos, and then she got Siesta, and I couldn't. I wasn't I didn't have enough credits to get in that, but she said, I'm going to put you in my a movie. And then all of a sudden she called me up and she said, I'm doing this studio film, this Stephen King movie. And I had to test. It was between me and Rebecca De Mornay.
No way.
Wow.
Oh, I love her though.
Yeah, yes, of course.
Well, keep
okay.
telling your story.
And it was Dale Midkiff and one other actor. I I can't remember his name off the hand, but it was us down to us 4, and that's how it panned out. And she's like, I mean, you know, you hear a lot of shit. You hear people say, "I love you. If I'm ever going to do something,"
Right. Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, oh my God. But she's like the one person that actually panned out.
Came
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so they got you on the set.
And this is a movie too that this is unlike a lot of Stephen King movies at the time. This is also the script was written by King too,
Yeah, he
based
did
on
this.
his own
Yeah.
novel.
He did.
James?
Right.
The first adaptation of his own novels that he did.
Did
I
he?
think.
Really?
I
It was
think
his
so.
first?
Yeah. I mean, he had written screenplays before, but this was the first time he adapted one of his own novels to the screen.
Right.
Wow.
With only him as the writer.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know, you know, he was there with us, you know, in Maine for 2 weeks rehearsing.
It was. I think
before-
it was in a location really close to where he even lived too. I think
It was
right?
outside of Bangor. He lives in Bangor.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
that was one of the conditions of selling the movie to Paramount was that they shoot it there.
It had to be.
How
It
great is
had
that?
to be. You cannot have shot that film. You know, when I look back, had you shot that film in a soundstage
Right,
at
right.
Paramount, oh my God, you wouldn't have. Maine became a character in
Right.
the film.
Right.
No question. No question.
And it's so specific to a location. I mean, it's a titular location. It's the title of the movie, of the story. So
well, this is how specific this gets. So the Creed House is outside of Hancock, Maine, which is this charming, idyllic town, like in half an hour from Bar Harbor. You know, I don't know if you know Maine, but, you know, it's so beautiful there. And so in the book, the Creed House is set on this highway.
Right.
And across the highway is the Crandall House. That's exactly what they found
Wow.
on location.
Oh,
That never
supposed-
happens.
wow.
Crazy.
That never happens. You know, as you know, you find a house, you know, that you love.
Yeah, the perfect
Production
house,
loves,
yes.
the director loves.
Sure.
You shoot that. And then you find the
Other-
across the
Right.
street house
Yes.
somewhere miles away
Yeah.
because it looks great and it's
Yeah.
right and you make it work
Yeah.
on the
Right.
film.
Cheetah.
Right.
This was literally across the street
Wow.
and still
That's
stands
awesome.
to this day.
Okay, now I know this is really goofy, but it's like for the listeners who don't know, Pet Sematary, the basic story is
James.
The story
Stephen
is that
King
there is
expert.
A doctor and his family moved to this small town in Maine because he's going to start working for the local university. And it's there is a highway that the house is right near. The trucks go speeding by because it's like the main artery for these trucks.
And it kills lots of pets.
Kills lots of pets. And they meet the kindly neighbor, Judd Crandall, who warns them about the road. And also, once the family cat is run over, shows the father the pet cemetery. Well, that's the first thing Judd does is show them the pet cemetery. But then after the cat is run over, he has the doctor bury the cat in the pet cemetery. The cat comes back the next day. It's a zombie cat. And
Hello, Walking Dead. Welcome to our world.
And it's somewhat based on The Monkey's Paw, the classic horror story about accepting death and accepting grief and the perils of not doing that. And as a novel, I mean, King had famously said that it was something he didn't want to publish because it was too disturbing and too dark. Then he did bring it out and finally got it published.
So there was a recent, at a signing, like a con, somebody brought me a recent edition, 91 edition of a paperback of Pet Sematary, and it had a new introduction that Stephen wrote. And it was beautiful because I learned so much. He is often, according to his introduction, he's often asked, what, in his opinion, is the most terrifying book he's written? That's a common question he's asked. And people assume maybe it's The Shining or Misery or The Stand. But he now believes it's Pet Sematary.
Really?
Because he feels it's the book he went too far.
Well,
I could see that.
It's pretty.
It's so
It's
dark.
dark.
It's
It
about
is
that.
very
I mean,
dark.
And he goes on to say that he wrote this book really out of a real life experience.
Right. That happened to his son.
Right.
Yeah.
His
his
daughter.
Son, his daughter.
His
But
daughter.
She was in the road.
So they moved. He was a young writer. He moved with his wife Tabitha. They bought a house. They were just beginning to have children on this road that they told him, was frequented by big trucks. His daughter's cat was killed on the road. His daughter came in with the cat and said, "Why, Daddy? Why, Daddy? Why did God take my cat?" Which is a line in the movie.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Why didn't God choose another cat?
God can have his own cat. He can't have mine.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
And he wrote this book, took the premise of that, and went further with that. And then he was really disturbed by it and thought, I've gone too far. And he put it in a drawer for a while. And then he wrote more, and he owed a book
A double day.
to his publisher, to
Right.
Doubleday. And Tabitha said, why don't you pull that book out and do it and submit that book? And he said, I don't know. And she said, no, it's really good. And that's how Pet Sematary. And we were within an inch of our life, by the way, filming that movie the entire time.
Really?
Wow.
There was, at any moment, they were going to pull the plug. You could feel
Are
it.
you serious?
Why?
Any moment. Because it was multiple reasons. Bill Pope was fired, our DP.
No, I didn't know that.
Went on to shoot, like I said,
Oh,
The Matrix,
yeah, The Matrix, yeah.
all the movies. Somebody had to take the fall. They were really worried. They didn't like the dailies the first week. They were worried about Mary as director. They were worried about content, matricide.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was always
Wow.
we were always on the seat of our pants. And you could feel it. After the first we even shut down production for a while.
I didn't know that. You would think that with a
In
Stephen
Maine.
King novel, it's a
Yeah,
go. It's a done
guaranteed,
deal.
right.
Yeah.
Not now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Back
I
then,
don't
no.
know. By that time, there had been The Shining.
Yeah.
Which that in and of itself, Carrie.
Carrie,
Yes.
right.
In the 80s,
You
there was
had.
Firestarter, The
there-
Dead Zone. There were all these adaptations
There
right
was
before that.
Cujo
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was enough. I mean, he clearly, and he had a certain deal, in place, but it was very touch and go.
Really? Wow.
Pet Sematary. It was never a done deal.
Wow.
Wow. It's
Okay.
kind of impressive how faithful it is, and the fact that they were
Don't you think?
able to
Right down the line.
Yeah.
Don't you
Able
think?
to actually get it produced that faithfully, considering the subject matter. And
I
that-
agree.
Really, that convincingly. I mean, that a little Gage as the zombie.
Well, I was going to say the whole
So
idea
dark.
about
Yeah.
about a little child, about, losing a
Well,
young child,
and
then
what do you
this-
do when you have this opportunity where if your child dies and then there is this mysterious unexplained reason if you put something that's
Right, to bring him
dead and in this place and
That you can't let let go
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
You can't reconcile
Yeah.
that. It's so deep.
It
and
is.
none of us had children, by the way, at that point in time. I didn't. Mary didn't.
Sure.
None of us.
Interesting.
Brad,
Wow.
who played Pascal, none of we've all had children since.
right.
Here's the thing, though, with that story, is that so the cat dies.
Yeah.
He takes it to the pet cemetery.
Yeah.
The cat comes back. The cat,
Not church.
not all
Yeah,
church.
church.
Is not that different when you're talking about typical cat behavior.
Oh no.
They hiss at
no.
you, they scratch
My
you.
cat hisses at people.
It's true. I mean,
you could kind of argue, like, aside from the smell.
that's right. That's right.
That was right.
Yeah, he's changed a little bit, but he's still a cat.
And that may be enough license
To go like,
it's not that. I mean,
he might be a little cranky, but he'll come back as my son. But yeah, that's what's interesting and that's what I love about the film is that they don't go overboard with the cat. The cat isn't like just jumping on people and scratching
Right,
their eyes
right.
out.
It's
It's
not
like, okay, well, it's not that bad, is it?
Well, it's also not the most cute cat to begin with.
Okay.
Oh
No.
No, that is a
You're
cute.
a dog person.
That is a cute cat.
That's
I had a cat hater.
That's a sterling.
Yes,
that's
it's a beautiful
sterling
cat.
blue point.
I wanted to pet. I wanted to pet
Beautiful
that cat.
cat.
Wow.
So you just don't say that cat wasn't cute.
I was given the kitten
Wow.
church.
You heard it
As a
here.
wrap present.
Here on Monster Party,
Awesome.
Denise Crosby
And
got
I
the
have stuffed church, not the real church. I have a.
What the hell did you do, Denise? What the hell did you do?
So awesome!
You ruined a great story.
If I had, like, you know, the pet, the like, you know, the animal stuffed. No, I have. I
let it go.
have the. Okay, so our wrap present on Pet Sematary was a stuffed animal church, and I'm the only one that still has.
I love you. That's so awesome.
I'm the only. I'm. You know.
Hey, just really goofy.
She took it out of the package, by the way.
Well, okay, that was my first question. Working with Ed Gwynn, I'd heard
Fred Gwynn.
Fred Gwynn. Demon Booze.
Who are you?
Okay, wait, just shut up for a second. No, Denise. Okay,
What?
over here.
I love it.
Okay,
I love him.
Okay,
I
I heard a story. I heard a story that
About
he was
Fred
trying to
molest me
for
the whole time.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah, okay,
Wait a minute. Hold
listeners,
No, wait.
listeners here on Monster Party, you've heard it here first. No, I want to ask. I had heard a story that he didn't want people to talk to him about the Munsters. Do not talk to him about the Munsters ever. And I want to know that I had heard this story that. Did he talk about it? Did you guys ask him, hey, when you play?
No, I mean, we didn't sit around and talk about the Munsters, but it was never like, there wasn't like a vibe, like, do not talk to him about the I mean, I've worked with weird actors who like said, you know, don't look. Oh, Liam Neeson, by the way.
Yes.
Dark Man.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I went to visit
Yes.
the set because my friend Bill Pope was shooting it back in the day when Sam Raimi was just getting started.
Sam Raimi, love him.
You had to say, Mr. Darkman. Hello, Mr.
Are you serious?
What?
I'm telling you, you gave me some red wine. You wanted me to talk.
No, I did.
I'm giving you some stuff, man.
Okay.
Mr.
It's always that last
Darkman.
hour.
You couldn't say, hi, Liam. Oh, it's great to meet. No. Mr. Dark.
Are you serious?
Hello, Mr.
All right.
Darkman.
Yeah, okay.
My name's Denise.
But you know what? Okay, I get it because you're an actor.
No,
He's an actor.
No.
You guys
There's
gotta, you have
getting
that.
Mr. Darkman.
Okay, that's
I'm
ridiculous.
sorry.
That's ridiculous.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Absurd.
Well, getting back.
Whatever.
But
Getting back to
I
Pet
have
Sematary.
I have to talk about how.
No, he didn't do that, by the
Okay.
way,
He
to
didn't do
answer
that?
your
Yeah.
question.
Okay.
No.
No.
And he was
Sometimes things come back from the Pet Cemetery.
Yeah.
You go in as Fred Gwynn, you come out as Ed.
That's it. You go in as Fred and you come out as Ed.
All right.
Oh,
all right.
Lord.
All right. We all laughed at my
but I-
expense. Okay, that's great,
but I have
guys.
to
Okay.
talk-
Sometimes Fred is better.
Good. That's good.
He shoots, he scores.
Well, that's our show.
That was a good. That was
a good one. That was
Sean,
a-
Sean, did you have a
I just
question?
had a question
Please.
in the movie in Pet Sematary, the way like it all builds up to like this kid's going to come back, and when you're watching, you think, okay, how are they going to pull this off? And with little Miko Hughes, it really is creepy the way they
is
do this.
creepy,
And
yeah.
I wanted to ask you, like, how was it working with Miko? I know they used like in some cases stand-ins and kind of dummies, but it was all very well done. And he was a creepy little kid, and
He's a creepy little kid.
See, Sean doesn't have kids. He
I
doesn't.
was.
They're all creepy to us.
That's right. They don't.
but it was very effective.
It was extraordinary because generally you would use twins because just for the logic of filming.
Right,
I mean,
right. You always use
the
twins.
practicality.
Right.
As we did with Ellie. Ellie, the daughter, was twins.
right.
I did not know this.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, just for the.
Because they can only shoot him
You
like
can
a
only
couple hours
shoot,
a day, right?
And you've got a 3-year-old, so it's even
Yeah.
more
So young,
more
yeah.
condensed. But Mary met Miko and said, "I'm going to stretch this, and I'm going to make it harder for myself by using him. But he is the guy."
Wow.
So this one kid, 3-year-old, played
Right.
Gage, and Mary was genius in that she tried as best she could to shoot the film in sequence, which is not done.
Oh no, that is
But
not
for
done.
a little kid, that's smarter.
So we needed to make him feel comfortable and trusting of us, and this was playtime. That I was his movie mommy and daddy, movie daddy and movie sister, and the cats and our house, and we're going to have fun, and everybody's going to be wonderful, and we love you, and this is fun, and then we're going to put a little outfit on you that's velvet, and we're going to fuck you up. but by the time that happens,
Those are her exact words, too.
like 4 months later, and you'll let us do anything to you.
Right,
You get to play with knives.
My concern was like, I didn't see Miko for a long time. He went on to do, Kindergarten Cop, and had a career as a kid actor, and then I sort of met him. I don't know. He was 20 or something, and it was like, you're okay. You're okay.
Did we fuck you up?
God, I didn't fuck you up. I said, come here. And he's amazing and cool and bright.
That's
and,
awesome.
Did he remember? Did he remember the experience?
He doesn't. He remembers only through the stories. He doesn't.
Because he was
Maybe that's a good thing.
He wasn't even 3. I think, like 2.5 or something. I mean, he was like really young.
He was really little, and he was the only one. And we were so protective of him. The whole movie was about protecting him, and he was brilliant.
Yeah, he really was.
Yeah, he's great.
It really worked. I bought it when I saw it.
And that whole performance made me want to protect my Achilles tendon.
Yes.
From that point on.
Yeah.
Whenever I walk by a bed,
Right.
Yeah.
I still,
Yeah.
whenever I go to bed at night, I grew up on vampire movies, Bela Lugosi and, every vampire there was. I still go like this when I sleep at night.
Right.
You have to.
Now, it's such a tragic story. Was the atmosphere on set kind of depressing? Or
Not at all. The
Really?
opposite. The
Really?
opposite.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was a
the
party.
opposite.
I think you have to
Well,
kind
it
of
was-
Yeah, I think so.
counterbalance it.
Yeah.
But it's you're making a movie,
Yeah.
so your other energy is joyful and happy and positive. We're trying to accommodate everyone's lives, and you've got this amazing crew who has come out of their comfort zone, and everybody's in Maine. I rented a house. We were there for quite some time, and I'd never done a movie like this, where I was on location and I was, one of the leads, and they gave me kind of like rental money to go and find a place. And I rented this beautiful little, like a water edge of the Fingerlit, lakes there in Hancock. And it was just this cabin in the daytime. And then the nighttime came.
Cabin in the
And
woods.
I was alone in a cabin in the woods making a horror film. And I spent 4 months sleeping like this.
Eyes open.
wide awake.
It was insane.
Wow.
It was insane.
Now, the way you say like how the movie was almost shut down, but it ultimately turned out well and did really well.
It
right?
did, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it was a big hit, right?
I don't, it was kind of a little weird indie. I don't know how much it made. I think it's coming into its, it's owning its place in history.
Yeah, but I mean, it was popular enough to bring along. Pet Sematary too.
And well, we
That
don't.
was unrelated,
I've never
though, I
seen
think.
it.
Yeah, I know, but I mean-
that was a bit of a. I've never seen it. I remember there was a lot of drama around it. Stephen tried to shut it down.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, because he didn't want it.
Right,
He never wrote a Pet Sematary.
Right.
It's a self-contained story. You don't need any
there
more.
wasn't. There wasn't that.
The ending too. I think that I know the ending is very effective in Pet Sematary too, because I think I was
Perfect.
James.
Dark.
I think
Perfectly
I was
dark.
talking about in the book, you don't necessarily see the wife.
I don't think you see the embrace. You just hear her.
You
You
hear
just
her.
hear.
at the door.
That's right.
But,
That's right.
But as a movie,
That's
I think
right.
it works really well to see you walk
Well,
in and
it's-
the kiss.
I
And the
had to
kiss is great.
reshoot that.
And the makeup.
Really?
I had to reshoot it. They didn't think it was gory enough.
Really?
Well,
They
what they
wanted
ended up
more.
with. Yes.
They
Okay.
wanted more, and believe me, we shot it the first time, I'd been in 4 hours in makeup, and it was an extraordinary artist that Lance and David Henderson. They did the makeup, and they were extraordinary. And so they saw it at Paramount, and they asked us to come back after all this, with all the, child,
Yeah.
matricide
Yeah,
and the thing and the, with the sister. I mean, Zelda.
That is
very
that is
to
actually
me,
the creepiest to me.
Don't you think?
Yes.
Played by a guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No way.
I did not
Didn't
know that.
I had no idea.
You didn't know?
I didn't
No.
know.
See, it worked. I had no
can't
idea.
believe it. Yes.
And that to me, that was one of the
Andrew
Yeah.
Hubbasteck?
Hubbasteck.
and that was one of the creepiest moments when you go
Okay.
you start telling.
I
the
thought it was
story.
Iggy
That
Pop.
was it is Iggy Pop. I mean, for all intent and purposes, and Andrew is very
A
much
healthy
like
Iggy Pop.
Well, later Iggy, 90s Iggy. Mary tried to, read girls and
Right.
whatever actresses,
Yeah.
young, petite,
Yeah.
but they were all too pretty and,
Right, I understand.
healthy.
Right.
And somehow maybe it's her RISD,
Right.
Talking Heads,
Right. That twisted side,
persona. She said, who would think I'm going to see a guy for this role?
Right.
But it was
It's
it was
perfect.
genius
It's
because
so-
Denise,
because
I
there's
did not know.
something
It's one of
there
the
was
most
something
unsettling
and the way the
flashbacks.
makeup was done and
Yeah.
her back or whatever. I mean, I just thought it was a really homely woman. Then they added more stuff to, but it fooled me. I had no idea.
How?
But that is one of the creepiest moments to me in the
Oh
movie.
my god!
Actually.
Oh my god! And it's the through line for Rachel.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
and what makes her so tragic and personable.
It's like everybody has this weight.
Everybody has these personal demons going on. Yeah. I mean,
Everybody
it's-
has
it's
this
very-
weight that
yeah.
they're carrying around. And what I always remember from the book that is like this knife to the heart is that funeral.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you're just
right.
like, wow.
Okay, here's a story for that day. So that was maybe the hardest day of filming I've ever experienced, besides my death scene
Yeah.
in Star Trek.
Sure.
The holograph
Yeah,
scene.
yeah.
But it's so hard for an actor. You get the call sheet and okay, you're at your son's funeral. That's my call. That's my day. Fuck. Fuck. Okay.
Have fun with it.
Exactly. And I'm, oh God. Okay. So, you got to modulate. So, when the camera's on you but you have to you're in a state the entire day.
Right.
Was it more than
Because-
one day that you had to shoot
No,
the scene?
thank God.
one
Thank
day.
God. It's
One
one
long
day
day.
in the funeral part, which, God,
Right.
who wants to go to a mortuary ever again? And you're in this mortuary. The coffin is there. Your son is there. Your husband is going to have a fight with your father. Stephen is there as the minister.
Yeah.
By the way,
Right.
it's the most fucked up day
Yeah.
ever acting. I'm just spent. So it's now dark. We're wrapped. I have a rental car. I've got the house in the woods.
When you're driving,
Driving home.
you're driving home.
I'm driving home, and a fox runs out in front of my car. Boom.
No way.
You hit the fox.
Okay, stop.
Oh my
All
gosh.
right, easy.
The road's
I
clean.
may have hit the fox. I stopped the car. I went, oh my God. More tears. I can't believe I have even a tear left. I get out of the car on the main highway, a main dark woods road. Okay. There's not a street light, a star in the sky. I go, oh my God, where's the fox? Oh my God, I'm going to take it. I don't know what. I'm going to pick it up and put it in the car. I don't see it. I've looked everywhere. I've never hit an animal. I'm sure I've hit this fox.
But you couldn't find the fox?
Couldn't find the fox. So I'm in the fox. And I drive back to my house and I'm sobbing. And I'm like going, oh my God, I shouldn't do this movie. It's Pet Sematary.
How ironic can you get? You just
killed an animal.
oh my gosh.
And I call my husband who's in LA, can't get him on the phone, leave a message like, this is the mess, anyway.
Oh my
No,
gosh.
I get.
Yeah,
I see a squirrel that's been hit by a car. It ruins me for days.
Oh,
But the irony couldn't be more.
But
the fox.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the
I've
fox.
never hit or touched
Yeah.
an animal since.
Oh my
And
gosh. That's crazy.
no.
But see, the good thing is if you didn't see that fox,
Maybe it limped off into
Maybe
the woods
so.
and
Yeah.
licked at the pond.
yeah,
That's
it
what
could
I have to. I have
Yeah,
to.
You've heard
yeah.
stories of
I have
like
to
animals like gnawing off.
No,
What
not
are you
gnawing,
doing?
Okay. No, they lick.
He licks, and he's all better.
And
Yeah.
he's better.
No, no.
And he's better.
Yeah.
And he's better.
Foxes have a shell that protects them from upset actresses.
It was a like a force field.
Right. Exactly.
That's right.
Yes.
That protected the fox.
Well, it
Probably
wasn't.
hit it on a ley line.
It wasn't even the
That
fox.
was the
It
fox
was
from
like-
another timeline.
Yes,
Yes,
timeline.
yes.
From
Back
the
to the
Enterprise.
future, yes.
See, when,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, Pet
so-
Sematary are really neat.
Yes. But now, speaking of like killer kids and little
Foxies.
things, I want to talk about another wacky movie that you did
Wacky.
called Dolly Dearest.
Dolly Dearest.
Which is kind of, this is
1991.
1991, kind of like a female version of Child's Play.
Yeah.
It was a female doll. I love the premise of this movie, which is there's a doll factory right next to like a mine excavation site that releases Satan or something. Pretty much, right? That's the
son. It's-
What's
it's
wrong?
like-
I mean,
No, it's
yeah.
the
Son of
Totally
Satan with a
So-
goat head.
Totally logical.
Totally.
It's like,
Totally.
It's like, I think it's you and your husband have a daughter, and the daughter takes this doll because your husband like works
Sam
for
Bottoms.
Sam Bottoms.
Can
right?
we just talk about
Yes.
Apocalypse Now? Hello.
Right.
Can I just say, if he was not acting in regular movies, gay porn, I'm just saying,
So,
right?
and I'm not sure that he didn't, but anyway.
You heard it here.
On Monster Party.
So,
Think of all the exclusives
best.
we're getting.
Speaking of Thailand,
Yes.
oh yeah,
Oh, I got
few
it.
visits,
Okay.
few visits,
Okay.
Apocalypse
He
Now
didn't even have
time.
to change his name. Sam Bottoms.
No, he did
I
not.
know.
That's the
Right.
idea.
The best. Loved that man.
Yeah. How about Rip Torn?
Yeah, Rip Torn. Yeah.
Need I say more? Okay, Rip Torn. I'm in this movie. He was like in a lull of his
Right.
Yeah.
non-career, by the way.
Right.
And I had known all about his extraordinary Broadway. He was, the bomb on Broadway, and doing the great American plays. And unfortunately, he ripped that director's asshole open and gave it to her on a plate. Yeah.
Oh, my.
Oh,
really? Yeah.
Well,
But
that's interesting because you came from Pet Sematary, which was a female director,
Right,
and now,
to
and now
another.
Dolly Dearest was Maria Lise.
yeah,
was
Maria,
also
who was
a female director.
Yeah, she comes from the Hill Street Blues gang.
Oh,
she
yeah.
was like the script supervisor.
Wow.
And, first AD. I mean, she
Was this like one
kind
of her first feature films?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think she ever directed again.
Wow, is that
Yeah.
because of Rip Torn?
I would
Traumatized.
not doubt it.
Wow.
I mean, these guys, there's a school of actors that are very formidable and very tough and angry and mean with
Right.
directors who cannot keep up with them.
Right.
Right.
And they're known for that.
Right.
And the younger guys may not hopefully go that route, as they shouldn't, because I'm
Right.
all about, again, at the end of the day, we were talking about this, about humanity.
Sure.
I don't care if you're directing, I don't care if you're scooping ice cream at 31 Flavors. I mean,
Doing a
How do you-
podcast.
right. How are you treating each other?
Yes.
You know?
Yes, Matt.
So,
yes.
but these guys, except you. But these guys, you couldn't, they didn't suffer fools.
Wow.
So
now, was it, if not for the director, was it still a fun movie to make? Because it seemed like it did the Child's Play route with the doll.
I really enjoy that movie.
It's kind of fun.
I think it's a lot of fun.
do you know? I've never seen it.
It's pretty fun.
It is a lot of fun.
Have you?
I think
I have
it's
not.
I have not.
I
I
have.
have not
I
seen
guess it's me.
It's good.
I watch all your movies.
over and over and over. I know.
I just
Denise, if you have,
fast forward through all the ripped torn parts.
if you have another 90 minutes, I guess I know what we're doing after this.
How was Rip Torn to you?
He was fairly, he's not the easy guy. He's not an easy guy. I mean, he was okay because I knew some of, I could talk about Tennessee Williams. I could talk about, Eugene O'Neill.
Yeah.
Right.
I could talk about, I knew he was married to, oh my God, the great actress.
Mimi Torn.
Geraldine Page. He was married to the great Geraldine Page.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and it was crazy time. The 50s doing Tennessee and Eugene O'Neill on Broadway and creating these roles.
Right.
The, seminal roles in American theater. So I knew that and I could talk to him about that. But he was in a period, this was before he played, in
Larry Sanders.
Yeah,
Right.
Larry Sanders, which kind of infused him with a little
humility, maybe.
I don't
or
know.
Something.
I don't
the other
know.
way
but
around.
certainly gave him a great shot in the arm.
Yeah.
One of the
So,
greatest
totally.
comedic roles of all time.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he was great, and I was in awe of him, and Sam, and Sam and I just dug each other and hung out. And,
That was it was a really fun movie. I mean, you've done a bunch of other things, but there's something that you did fairly recently which really blew me away. And you had mentioned something earlier about The Walking Dead, and you were in what I think is one of the greatest episodes.
Well, this was like the fourth
arc.
It was towards the end of the fourth season.
It's season 5, episode 1. In 2014, and you played. It's called No Sanctuary,
right? But before that,
yeah.
It was the introduction of the Terminus storyline,
right?
Yeah, the group of people that you kind of follow have kind of been spread out, and they all see these signs that say, go to this terminus, follow this railroad track. So they all kind of
safe haven.
Yes,
right.
So they all kind of get there, and they encounter this compound, and it seems like it's a really great idea.
Well, and
Place of safety.
Yeah.
It's been advertised.
Yes, and there's this woman named Mary who invites them.
Well,
Of course, named Mary
and
Mother Mary.
Yes,
you're there to greet them. Actually,
and I actually thought, oh my God, because they've been through so much. Thank God, because I love these people. I really did. I've been following this.
Right.
And Denise, I just want to tell you one thing, Denise. I did not know that this was you. I had no idea that this was Denise Crosby playing this character.
Wow.
I had no freaking clue.
Great.
And so, because when
Love that.
I was going over IMDb, I went, wait a minute, she was in. What character did she play?
Oh, I love your first appearance.
Yes.
You're there cooking up the meat on the barbecue.
And I'm all, oh my
Welcome
God.
to Terminus.
And it's such a, and I would imagine that most of our listeners know this episode because it is one of the greatest episodes.
It's a great storyline, actually. It's a really good.
What we end up finding out is our band of people that we've been following are actually captured and put in these train cars, because they're going to be slaughtered as cattle for this group of people that are cannibals, basically.
Yeah. And by the way,
and it's horrifying.
Whenever cannibals are brought into it, I'm like, all right, this is getting good.
I know where you're going with this, because I know Matt's probably going to make some kind of joke here. But see, the truth of the matter is, here you are. Here he always does this. But what you have to understand is this is a society. It's just kind of falling apart. How are these people scraping
that's
by?
the thing about the world of The Walking Dead is that the world is in such extreme disarray now that there's different ways that people deal with it, but for the people in Terminus, this was a logical way to survive.
Absolutely.
Right?
You guys were the victims.
Absolutely.
You were the victims.
At one time, but the thing
question.
that kills me is how you and your group of people, how you treat it so nonchalant. This is our way of life now. We just trap these people. This is what we do to them. And just when you think not to give a spoiler out, because if there's anyone that hasn't seen it, but one of the characters kind of helps rescue in a way.
Right.
And in all the chaos that's going on, there's this really intense scene between you and Carol, who's played by Melissa McBride, and it's a great fight scene. 2 women.
Isn't that awesome?
Yes, and it's in this giant room, and there's all these candles. It's so freaking creepy. And
know.
there you are, and the look on your face. I mean, you're trapped, and you girls have this fight. Denise, were you really going at it?
We were really going at it, like bitch to bitch.
Denise, that's
we
what it
were
looked like.
going down. It was crazy though, because I love Melissa. I mean, I love her so much as a person, and that sequence, it was like 1,000 candles.
Yeah.
Were in the room. That was not
Very
CGI.
gothic.
I mean,
No.
it was crazy.
Yeah.
That shoot. When they handed me the flame retardant underwear to put on under my skirt, I said, no.
Wow.
No. You guys, I'm not dying for this shot. Okay? I'm not going to burn my asshole off for this shot. You better get it together.
Right.
I'm not putting flame retardant underwear. You can put those away.
Yeah, only for pleasure.
But not here, okay? Not in a shoot. And but I had a long skirt on.
Yes.
and it was
Right.
action.
Yes.
I mean, it was it was one of the craziest shots I've seen, sequences I've ever done. And Melissa and I just got each other. We trust each other.
Yeah.
We just, it's like, let's make this.
If you're going to do it, let's do it.
It
Yeah,
was
let's
such
do
a
it.
powerful scene.
It was.
It was
I thought so too.
It was a powerful episode too, because it really is. The people term this. It was like cows or cattle are to us, and that's what it was. They were just they were a meat supply,
And it's almost like
know?
seeing like what we could turn into.
Yes, and how easily you are to justify it. It's horrifying.
It's the whole thing with The Walking Dead. The through line for me is, what would you do?
Yeah.
exactly.
To survive.
How far will you go?
It's not. It's
To
not about
save my
zombies.
kid?
No.
I don't know what I would do to save my kid.
Of course.
Right.
I really don't.
Yeah.
You're right.
God willing, I'm never,
It
put
puts
to
all
that
those
test,
big
but
questions. Up
And
there.
the stories of
know.
you.
You don't know.
No.
We all say, the one thing I can be assured of, before I had my son, everybody goes, you don't want to do this, you don't want to do this, you don't want, and when you're pregnant, you go, I will never do this, I will never do this, and then you have a baby. Mm-hmm. And
Yes.
you do everything you said you wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Because you do.
Mm-hmm.
That's life.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
about survival.
Yeah.
Right.
I
right.
have to get from this moment to the next.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like that movie is not about like it's about the big questions. It's not. The zombies are a result of that.
Yeah,
but
it's a
it's
part of
about-
it.
It's not
Yeah.
even
It's a great
no,
human
It's about the people.
Not about
Yeah,
the
It's
zombies.
great.
Yeah, it's about the
Yeah.
people.
It's
But
amazing.
Denise, I just want to commend you. That was just fantastic.
Oh,
it
I'm
was
so-
frightening,
I'm
and I
so
had no
happy.
idea it was
Thank you.
And that's a funny thing.
That's even cooler.
Well-
so many people come up to me. They have no idea.
None. I had no idea.
No,
And-
the wig
No,
and
I had no idea who that actress was,
And
but I
that's-
thought she was really good.
As a compliment to an actor,
Yeah.
you want to. I want
immerse
to
into
hide.
that part. Yeah. Now I have a question. Did you like? Hopefully not giving it away, but like your death scene. You're kind of left like kind of wondering what happened to you. I'm
Right.
just curious if did they film any kind of more graphic demise for you that they didn't show, or
No, it was the door open. And,
Right, right.
Melissa left the door.
right.
Great.
It was so funny though shooting that scene because they all they have these great extras
Sure.
in
Right,
Atlanta,
right.
Yeah.
and then they have their key zombie.
Yeah,
they
the
have
key zombies,
At
yeah.
this point, they're 6 seasons in, so
Right,
they
right.
have a couple of the star zombies who they'll. I mean, it's
Zombie number one,
crazy.
number
Yeah,
two.
they've got their whole thing.
Yeah.
But they came running in. And I'm like going, and they're going, and they're doing like that kind of
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm laughing.
No.
As they're
Ass up.
nibbling on you.
A
A tickle?
and they're zombies, and I'm dying in laughter. I'm
so good.
They're just
Denise Crosby delicious.
they're like extras, so they don't want to get like too on my skin.
Yeah.
You know, so they're being respectful.
Yeah.
To me. And so they're just kind of going. I mean, and I'm going. I'm
Oh my
dying.
God! See, now I don't know if I can watch that scene again.
I know. I'm
Denise,
sorry.
Denise, you just wrecked it for me.
so
I'm going to run back and immediately go back to that scene.
It's all fantasy. It just. I'm going. Oh my
so
God! I'm going to
great.
die.
Yeah.
Well, you also had a stint on Dexter. Right?
Oh,
Dexter,
Which is
His first
one
kill.
of which is
I was his first kill.
Right.
also named Mary.
That's
how about
right,
that?
Matt. That's right.
Oh shit!
about
I
that?
am like the divine mother
I'm
of
telling you.
Jesus.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my
Oh
goodness!
my
There's a
God!
roll. There's another roll out there for you.
must be something about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
I was Mary.
You were Mary.
Was I really?
All right.
Nurse Mary.
Yeah.
Nurse Mary.
Yeah.
I just remember the cat. Remember, I was Mr.
This I don't know.
Oh my
the cat.
God! No, I walked.
Let's go to
in-
Catapedia.
Yeah, no, I was. You are animal. Matt called me up and said, I have cats.
Yeah.
I said, great. I do too. Bring them on.
Yeah.
Mr. Tinkles.
Mr. Tinkles.
Mr. Tinkles.
Wow, why do you have to kill you now?
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Mr. Tinkles.
Mr. Tinkles.
Well, obviously you can
that
tell.
was my favorite
Mr. Tinkles.
thing. This pathetic nurse walks into her apartment yelling, Mr. Tinkles.
Mr. Tinkles understood why you killed.
I was not killing. I was helping him.
Helping.
I was
Ushering them
You
to
know
the other
what?
side.
You know what? I expect no less.
Really?
Well, I don't want to no.
I want to be real sure before.
I want to be buried in a pet cemetery with Mr. Tinkles and church, and I want to go out on a morphine drip. I mean,
Now we can
is that
talk.
too much to ask? For God's sake, what I've given you, people.
Thank you.
Exactly. Yeah.
My
Hey, you know what?
God.
Denise.
I'm going to make that happen. I'm going to get some experimental shit.
Listen, man.
You are going to go out with a bang.
I won in a pet cemetery with church and Mr. Tinkles on a morphine drip.
Done.
It's
There you go.
Yeah.
It's not a lot.
No.
No, I know
not
a guy who knows a
lot.
guy.
I'm there.
Denise, you can actually tell from all the stuff you've done, you've had an absolutely amazing career. You've done
Continue to have an amazing
I mean,
career.
yeah,
You're on every television show ever.
Yeah.
Not on the morphine drip.
No, not on the
yet.
morphine drip, but
By the way,
I mean, what I love is
Southland, Ray Donovan. Come on, we're going to do this again?
you're
magicians. The magicians.
you are
by
ballsy.
the way.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
The
The
magicians.
Sci-Fi Channel show?
Yeah.
Really?
Nice.
Oh, awesome.
Oh my God, you guys! This is the role I'm really so stoked about.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do tell.
Tell us.
Coming up in
Yes.
the next couple episodes. So this is a cool series. It's a great.
Looks
On-
great. I haven't
so-
seen it yet,
Have
but
you
it looks
seen
great.
it?
It's on the
so
Sci-Fi
last
Channel.
night-
Yeah.
last
It's on the
night was
Sci-Fi Channel.
Premiere. Sci-Fi, The Magicians, based on the trilogy that Lev Grossman, his trilogy of books. So it's sort of like I liken it to The Breakfast Club meets Harry Potter.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Perfect.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. What a great.
It's like magic.
It's like these groovy, hip, like disparate senior college kids who are alienated from their lives and they find their groove. And I play just Genji, who is just this magical, eccentric master magician from a long line of magicians.
Cool.
And they all end up at Break Bill's Academy, which is the School of Magic. And I'm mentoring my niece, who is one of the stars of the show, Olivia Taylor-Dudley. So I'm her mentor, and she's lovely. And they're all great talented
Kind of like a
kids.
contemporary hip version. Like
I'm telling you, it's a
Harry
Breakfast
Potter
Club
in the real
meets Harry
world.
Potter.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's cool. That's a
It's
cool idea.
very groovy music and cool. So John McNamara is the executive producer who wrote Trumbo, who wrote Aquarius.
Wow.
So
Oh, yeah,
he's on board. Michael London is the other executive producer who's a film producer. And I think it's Sci-Fi's foray into bumping it up. You know,
Yeah.
Sci-Fi's
Yes.
been behind the curtain.
We've had
and there's
issues.
no reason. There's no reason.
We've had
Yeah.
issues.
You know,
They've-
hello.
They've gotten
Yeah.
gradually.
Yeah, they're getting
getting
Yeah,
better, yeah.
but
Yeah.
like, you know, let's play ball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Just
I'm
do
with
the
you.
stuff,
God, why
right.
not?
Right,
Why
totally.
not?
So you're doing The Magicians. It's on Sci-Fi Channel, and
You've also been on Ray Donovan too,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, I
Donovan?
was doing Ray Donovan. Yes, for 3 seasons on
Awesome.
Ray Donovan.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is there any other stuff coming up you can tell us about as far as any other kind
anything other than
like-
like you're working on? Well, I know Trekkies
just The
3.
Magicians.
Trekkies 3. You're trying to do that,
right.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's in the early
Okay.
works.
I've written a screenplay that I think you'd be excellent.
I'm
No, we're not going to go there. But but I think it's amazing, Denise, how the roles that you've taken are very ballsy, and I love all the stuff that you've done, and I just am really looking forward to all the other stuff.
The
that's
Magicians?
The Magicians.
Yeah. And I really mean this. This is from the heart, which is that there are certain actors who you watch them and they're great in everything. And honestly, that's what I think you are.
Yes.
You
Yes.
honestly,
Yes.
everything I've ever seen you in. In fact, I was just watching a movie that I had not heard of that you were in called Legend of the Phantom Rider.
Oh my good God.
How about that? And I was
Now, what
like,
is- what is
and I was.
that?
This is a pretty low budget
Yeah.
Western.
Yeah.
A
How-
supernatural Western.
Supernatural Western.
Oh
How
my
cool.
gosh.
Yeah.
And
I don't know that
so-
one. Matt.
It's a
I don't
very
know that one.
unique niche.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, this is a great movie, and you're amazing in it, and it's dark and interesting and weird, and take it from Pet Sematary to Walking Dead to this. Like I said, I just stumbled upon this movie. It's so great, very entertaining, and you are amazing in it.
Oh, Matt.
Yes.
Oh,
Come here, you.
All right,
here, you.
all right, guys. Listen.
My
no,
lap is getting
yeah.
lonely.
But Denise, this has
Let's
been
draw a bath, shall we?
this has been great. This has been really wonderful. This has
Thank
been
you so
fantastic.
Guys.
And
Well,
I know.
Let's do it
Yeah,
again.
we
Let's
absolutely
absolutely
Let's
do it again.
again.
Oh, we will.
I know Matt
Yeah.
has to run his bath in a moment, but
Hey, let's do a listener shout out.
shout out.
We've never done this before, but I'm going to read a review that came in on iTunes.
Wait, you're
'cause
reading a review?
I'm reading a review that came in
Cool.
on iTunes. I was actually touched by. I don't actually
You have
know
feelings?
you wouldn't you know it? The listener is it's named Arj, or that's the iTunes
Arj!
handle. I don't actually know who it is.
Okay.
Arj says, "I wish it was a weekly show. My friend Eric turned me onto this podcast via the Bobby Slayton episode, and I've listened to every episode since.
Oh.
I listen in my office, in my kitchen, on my phone, in my car.
In a Pet Cemetery.
I've been on Monster Party Overload, and I love every second of it. I wish I could be in on the discussions with the guys. I feel that these guys know and understand me because they are just as into horror and sci-fi and masks and scary stuff and aliens and movies and jokes and ball busting as I am.
And baths.
You can tell these guys are good friends, and the show most likely continues long after the mics are turned off.
That's right.
The content,
yeah.
the content and topics are great. The guests are awesome. I love everything about it. Monster Party is truly one of my favorite podcasts, and I wish it continued success. Thank you,
What a
Arj,
sweetheart.
so much.
Wow.
Thank you, Art,
Yeah.
whoever you are. I
Yes.
was very moved by that.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you to all our listeners who write in on iTunes
Yes,
and who
and
also
Facebook and Twitter.
Facebook,
Yeah.
Twitter.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
love you.
And,
And we're
by the
just-
way, you guys, follow me at the Denise Crosby. It's verified. You'll see the blue check.
Cool.
It's for real. I tweet. You know, I'm not like the best tweeter, but I do.
Cool.
And I'm always checking in, and I always, I'll go through purges, and I'll just tweet everything.
Well, we'll follow you right away.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's stay connected.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
we'll do it.
support each other
Sure.
in our endeavors. And stay tuned to Monster Party. We're going to get good.
Yeah.
Get real.
Again, Denise, thank you so much for being with us. This has been
you.
Yes,
fantastic.
absolutely. You were the greatest.
So fantastic. This
And,
was so much fun.
Speaking of social media, our handles are on Facebook, Monster Party TV, on YouTube, Monster Party TV. That's our YouTube channel. And on Twitter, we are at Monster Party HQ.
And you've been listening to Monster Party, a presentation of the Fangoria Podcast Network. It's produced by Thomas DeFeo and Matt Weinhold, and executive produced by Ken Hanley of Fangoria Entertainment. And for press opportunities, advertising inquiries, and information about Monster Party, contact ken@fangoria.com.
On that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I am Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James GONIS.
And I'm Denise Crosby.
Oh, yes, you are.
Yes, you are. And I just want to tell you, keep America strong.
Watch anything that Denise Crosby is in, or I will find you.
I want to be the William F.
Yes, I know.
Buckley.
William F. Buckley, yes.
For your new show.
Well,
And,
There you go.
it's time for like a hot chick to be the William F. Buckley
Yes.
I love
of the
this
new
idea.
day.
well, I'm all in favor of that. We maybe
You know what
Not that I'm that, but
you
I'll
know
try.
when it
I'll
comes-
try.
You'll be that.
I'm gonna
Denise, you
try.
are that.
When it comes to
You're a-
Romulan politics, sometimes it takes a person from the future that then goes into the past.
Okay. This is all great.
Is she a Romulan? Is she human?
Okay.
We don't know.
This is great, but we need
We
to
are
get
so
to
doing
this.
it. Okay.
Okay.
We're
But
getting- what
this,
are we
this is
getting
something
to?
we're
Okay, we're gonna segue to.
We're going back to
Pet
Playboy
Sematary.
again.
Yes.
Your pictorial. Now,
No. We're gonna
Pet
go
Sematary.
Yes, I know.
Okay,
Okay.
are we good?
after track.
Levels are good. Okay.
Levels.
Later.
We all sound good.
all right. You promised.
This was the outtakes, by the way.